Giant fans, if you guys didn't know, we got the show back up and running on Baddog's channel last week. Of course, we'll be live there next week, and I think we got our first preseason game, I think a week from tonight. So
We do.
looking forward to talking Giants football tonight with all you guys. Obviously, some news with the Giants. Giants signed an offensive lineman. I think that's probably one of the bigger stories right now. They signed Van Roten, and now you have, some rumblings. Is Evan Neal going to be guaranteed to have his starting job when he comes back? And, I think I think Shane kind of let on, going into the offseason that he at least made me believe that it was Evan Neal's job to lose. I don't know if I agree with that anymore. You bring in two former Raiders. You got Brasso as the offensive line coach. Neal's dinged up. I don't know if he's got a job waiting for him when he gets back, if Illuminor does the job well at the right side.
Yeah, he may have already lost his job by starting on the PUP list. And let's face it, I mean, for lack of a better term, he's been a disappointment, to say the least. I still would like him to have an opportunity. I mean, you drafted him 7th overall.
I'm an idiot, by the way, Baddog. I see everybody saying Mike. I had the wrong mic set up. So there's our first mic mistake.
I thought maybe that mic was messed up, so I didn't say anything. I was just like, yes, I thought maybe he wasn't working.
You know you're going to get it when you come to the show. So
hey, it's preseason for us, too.
It's preseason.
Training camp for us, too.
It said the iPhone microphone. I don't even know that's possible. It must have picked it up on the Bluetooth. But regardless, now it would sound better. Yeah, if you didn't hear me in the chat, I started with, I think, the biggest storyline, and I'm glad to be back. Thank you to everybody for being here. Love all you guys, best supporters on YouTube. But, yeah, I started with what I think is the biggest story right now going for the Giants, at least leading into preseason. They pick up an offensive lineman with Van Roten, and I think I'm leaning that Evan Neal may not have a starting job when he comes back. I mean, Brasso is obviously the former offensive line coach with the Raiders. He did a great job while he was there. He turned a ragtag offensive line into a top 12 unit 2 years straight while he was there. I think they had like 16 different starting offensive lines his first year there due to injuries and, taking guys in and out. So he's clearly shown he could do a lot with a little. And now he brings two guys over from the Raiders that had a lot of success with him. Neal's dinged up. I don't think Neal's going to be the starter opening day for the Giants on the right side, which is crazy because we took him 7th overall 2 years ago. So that's what I led with if you didn't hear me, guys.
Yeah, and like I said, he may have already lost his job by being injured. But listen, we know Daboll does not care where you were drafted, how much money you make, how long you've been with a team. He wants the best guys to start. And if they believe Illuminor is the best guy to start over there, then it is what it is. I don't have a problem with that. I think Evan Neal's been a major disappointment. I don't think anybody would argue that. I still don't want to give up faith in him. He's been there for 2 years. He's battled injury. We've had a pretty bad offensive line. He's part of it, obviously, but the rest of the line also sucks. Maybe with Priscilla in there, he becomes a better right tackle. Maybe you move him inside. Justin Pugh started out as a right tackle for us. He struggled there a little bit. We moved him to guard. He was a very good guard for us. I don't think you give up on Evan Neal, but him not starting would not surprise me at all. And if Illuminor plays well, that's who you want there. You want the best guys to protect your quarterback because we heard in Hard Knocks this whole time how important that offensive line is and how injured Daniel Jones has been, and you got to protect Daniel Jones. So they have definitely done. I love the Van Roten signing. I love the fact that they've brought in linemen. We have a deeper line now, and hopefully it's satisfactory.
That's all we need.
Satisfactory.
We've been saying that word. We've been saying two words together in the same sentence for the last 6 years: hope and satisfactory, and it's always pertaining to the offensive line. So I hope once again that the offensive line is satisfactory this year. And it's a huge if because it hasn't been satisfactory for the longest time. But if it is, I think the Giants could be better than people think. And we'll see. Hopefully Carmen Brasso could do a better job with guys that he's familiar with the Raiders. Andrew Thomas hopefully could stay healthy this year. Yes. JMS, who's dinged up. You hope that it seems like it's minor from what I've read, but you hope he could come back and he could have a strong year too. Yes. This is kind of a pressure year for him because normally, Baddog, I'm very patient with, especially with offensive linemen. But he was an older rookie, right? He came in at 25. You kind of have pretty high expectations now for JMS, being that he was a pretty high pick for a center. Most centers don't go until the second round, generally speaking. He's a guy that I expect to be a good starter this year, and it's a big year for him.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy. He dealt with a shoulder injury last year.
Yeah.
And again, this to me, man, this is like the biggest thing for this offensive line is health. We have talked about this. You and I have talked about it. We talked about it with Patty Traina, and you heard Joe Shane mention the first episode. What did our guys play? What did our projected starting line play? 60 snaps together all year?
Yeah.
They got to stay healthy. If you stay healthy, you learn the nuances of one another. You know who's playing next. You know their strengths and weaknesses. You build as a unit. When you're constantly having a turnstile, guys are out of position, guys are coming off the couch, guys are here, guys are there. It's hard to have any kind of unity or chemistry when you're constantly changing what the hell's going on there. They got to stay healthy. Again, do we go out and make the really sexy signing and pay a guard $100 million? No. But Runyon is certainly an upgrade. Illuminor, I thought, was a great bargain.
Yeah.
You add a Van Roten. You hope Evan Neal can succeed if it's not a right tackle at guard. And, yeah, you hope JMS takes that step forward and Andrew Thomas stays healthy. Then you might actually have a decent offensive line. And if you can protect Daniel Jones for an extra 0.2 of a second with a guy like Malik Nabers,
yeah,
hey, you might actually be able to throw the ball. You might actually not get your quarterback killed. So it'd be a nice change of pace for us.
Yeah, and Tyler, man, my sincerest apologies. My sincerest apologies. And I know he's got a YouTube channel. I know he's got a YouTube channel. I haven't watched it. Maybe he's grown on YouTube. I have no idea. But my sincerest apologies if you've had to listen to Pat Leonard. I
really don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. You're not forced to, Tyler. But my sincerest apologies, man. And Juan, thank you very much for being a member. He says, "What's up, guys? Thoughts on the new kickoff?" Yeah, Juan, I think the new kickoff is interesting. I think it's intriguing, but I was actually talking to people in the chat, typing before I went live because people actually asked me that question. And it's hard to analyze or speculate, just how big of an impact it'll have in the NFL game because, yes, we've seen it in other leagues, but that's not the NFL. It's a different animal when you play in the NFL, but I'm excited for it. I think it's definitely going to add more explosive plays. It's going to bring more importance, significance to the special teams. So something that the NFL hasn't had since they changed the kickoff rules. It's going to take some getting used to, for sure, seeing the team kicking off starting on the opposition's 35-yard line. Like, that's going to take some time for me to get used to. But, yeah, I'm intrigued to see the kind of impact it could have on this year. And we said it during the draft, Baddog. I think that was a major reason why the Giants took Tyrone Tracy. Major reason. Because they anticipated that it's going to be more significant this year. So it's kind of hard for me to really say. I think that's actually, now that you bring that up, Juan, that might be what I'm most looking forward to in the first preseason game, because preseason is what it is. I think we've learned that since we've covered these games on YouTube. You're excited before it starts, and then at the end, you're like, what did we really learn out of this game? But that is one thing that actually I'll be excited to watch is the new kickoff rules and see how it looks and the type of impact it may have on this year's season.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows what Tyrone Tracy could be in the backfield? I mean, Devin Singletary is obviously the starter. I don't think there's any question about that. But, it's very possible that they go a different direction. I mean, they got 4 running backs. I don't know who's going to make the team. They're not going to carry 4. I would imagine Tyrone Tracy is going to make the team. I don't know about Dante Miller. I mean, obviously, he's very intriguing because he runs a 4.25. His nickname's Turbo for a reason.
Yeah.
Eric Gray, I don't know what Eric Gray's been doing in camp. I haven't really heard much about him. I mean, that could be the guy that they cut. I mean, they tried to have him return kicks last year, which he never did, and he was terrible at it. So, I mean, who knows? But again, obviously all the talk was Barkley this offseason, and Saquon Barkley didn't even have 1,000 yards. And the thing is, Devin Singletary actually averages more yards per carry. So I'm not saying Devin Singletary is better than Barkley. He's not. But Barkley behind the Giants line was going to give you similar stats. Daniel Jones was going to give you similar stuff.
What did Barkley average last year? Like 3.6 yards a catch?
Yeah, it was around 3.9, I think.
3.9, yeah. Not that it's not really his fault, but
right.
You've been saying it the last couple of years, even the year when Barkley had the big year, and Barkley was great in 2022. Don't get it twisted. It was his second best year as a pro. But even that year, I remember calling the games with you. You even said, if that was rookie Saquon Barkley, he's taking that to the house. The
explosiveness,
the explosiveness, yeah. And that's not just Saquon Barkley. That's most running backs. as they get to his age.
And he tore an ACL, and he dealt with a lot of injuries. There's a lot of miles on his legs. I mean, it is what it is. I expect him, if he's healthy, to have a good year for Philadelphia. I don't think he'll suck.
It's going to be hard not to behind that offensive line.
Right, but who knows if he stays healthy? Who knows how much actually running with Kellen Moore there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point.
And the other thing is, we weren't winning any games. I mean, that's the big thing. And, we've been on record, put their money in front of the quarterback, not behind him. You don't pay, Joe Shane said, you don't pay a quarterback $40 million to hand the ball off. It's just not what you do. So Singletary's not Barkley, but our running game wasn't great anyway. Barkley had one game last year where he had 100 yards rushing. One. It was against the Jets, and he carried the ball like 36 times.
That was insane. That was the game where they wouldn't let DeVito throw. That was insane.
They just ran the ball, and he got like 108 yards on 36 carries. He had to get 100 yards. So again, I'm not saying Barkley's done. I'm not saying Barkley's washed. If you're being honest with yourself, you look at 2018 Barkley, you look at 2023, but not the same. Not the same at all. Sometimes when you're a really bad team, you just kind of got to think outside the box, and you have to make moves that may not be popular, but you got to do what's best for your team. And I hate that Saquon went to Philadelphia, and Saquon was one of my favorite players on the Giants, without question.
Yeah.
But I think it was the right move. At the end of the day, I think they did what they had to do. And I saw a thing with John Mara today on Instagram, and they were talking about the Daniel Jones. Like,
I saw that.
You saw that, and I love that John Mara said, they looked at taking a quarterback, and I still believe in Daniel Jones, and now we got some pieces around him. But if they went with a quarterback, I was going to sign off. I think that Mara believes.
I mean, I think it was clearly obvious. I know we had Cop on last week on your channel, and he kind of disputed that point. But for me, I think it was clearly obvious that the Giants' plan A, as it should have been, in a rich quarterback draft class when you're picking that high, if there was a trade partner, which I think you and I both know there wasn't going to be, because every team up at the top needed a quarterback.
Yeah.
But plan A for the Giants was if they could get one of those great quarterback prospects, they were going to do it. And then they quickly shifted to plan B, which was always the more likely approach, knowing that New England wasn't going to trade out. And they drafted a guy who is arguably the top 2 or 3 player in last year's draft class, at least coming out as a prospect. So I'm thrilled with who we got. Malik Nabers, man, I don't pay much attention to the training camp stuff. I know Giants fans get excited about that. I've learned more and more over the years. It means nothing. You're going to get fans that overreact to impressive plays, and then you're also going to get fans who overreact to poor throws or a drop ball or missed blocking, whatever it may be. They're practicing. But I don't need training camp clips to tell me how good Malik Nabers is. Malik Nabers is a freak. He would be the number 1 wide receiver prospect in almost every draft class over the last 10 years. There's a couple he wouldn't be, but most draft classes, he would have been the number 1 prospect at that position. So I'm thrilled. Like you said, I think he's going to make a day one gigantic difference for the New York Giants. Haven't had an explosive player like that since Odell Beckham.
I'm excited. So now our explosive weapon is not in the backfield anymore. He's out and he's a receiver. I mean, so that it is what it is. You need blocking to hold up a little bit to get him the ball. But no matter how good your running back is, if you have no holes from the run through, your running backs get stuffed, and they could easily stuff the box and take him away. You can't do that now. You might have to double team Malik Nabers, in which case Wan'Dale Robinson has looked very good, and you're going to have him on one-on-one situations in the slot. And I like that matchup if he gets matched up on a nickel corner or a linebacker. I love that for us. Malik Nabers, I didn't care. I like the Malik Nabers. I was happy with any of those 3 receivers. You guys know I preferred Romo Dunze. But I mean, the Giants wanted Malik Nabers. That was their guy. That was surprising to me watching Hard Knocks when they said if all 3 are there, if Harrison's there. Nope, Nabers. Nabers was the guy they wanted.
What I forgot his name, the wide receiver coach for the Giants. He said that. They asked him he said Nabers.
Nabers. No question. I like when they brought all 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
And they did that. I liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. And they said, can we draft all 3 of you guys? But also Dable said, when he was talking to Nick Saban, he said there's 2 guys that are real pain in the ass. Malik Nabers and Brock Bowers. Those are the two guys. And I also found it interesting seeing all the trade scenarios. Hey, if somebody jumps up or they take Nabers, if Los Angeles takes Nabers, Odunze is there, but we could trade. The Bears are looking to move up to 6. The Colts called, and Shane's like, I'm not moving back. Like, these are things we don't know. Yeah. I never knew the Colts called them looking. We're going to give you 15, a second, and next year's whatever it was. No. Yeah. No, you'd have to give up 2 number ones to move up. And Shane's like, too far back. And they looked at the Bears and go, Odunze would be there at 9 probably, and he would have been. And they didn't. Nobody saw Penix going to Atlanta. I can tell you that. They didn't pick that.
The impression, and I like Odunze a lot. I know you did too. And we're going to get to these super chats in a second, guys. Thank you to everybody for being here. Appreciate all you guys. Most loyal subscribers on YouTube. Love you guys.
Football's back. It's actually on right now. So
yeah, Hall of Fame game tonight. The impression I got when getting to watch all the wide receiver prospects talk to the Giants, everybody constantly said on Twitter, and rightfully so, because I understand where they were coming from, was that Odunze's personality seemed more like a guy that the Giants would be intrigued by. When in reality, when you watch Hard Knocks, it was the complete opposite. It said that they were looking for that dog. They were looking for that alpha guy. And so they were looking more for a guy like Nabers. But I don't, at least me, and this is just an opinion. This is just the way I took it. Odunze to me almost felt like it was almost inauthentic. Like he was trying to force being this, like, I don't know, like almost like Saquon Barkley in a way. Like a lot of people used to criticize Barkley for being a guy that I didn't, but a lot of people did, where he was kind of phony. I've kind of got that vibe from Odunze as well as I was watching it. I don't think the Giants took that into account as well. It's just something that I thought about while I was watching. I'm like, he seems like he's going a little bit too over the top. Because I remember like Dable asked him a question, something along the lines of, I can't remember, but like, what will you bring to the team? And he didn't talk about anything on the field. He was talking about
leadership in the
locker room. I'm like, he's playing a little bit too much into this. It just felt a little inauthentic to me with Odunze.
I mean, I don't know Odunze I didn't really ever hear him interviewed when he played for Washington. I loved him anyway. I just loved his game. I loved his size. I loved his hands. But I also know he's a very hard worker. I mean, you saw that during the combine, and he was by far the best. Now, not all the receivers are there. He was the best receiver there. He showed to be the best receiver there. But you saw him do some extra stuff, and same with Penix. Penix took an extra throw. Like, they wanted to make sure they got it right, which tells me they were very well coached at Washington. And I always got again, maybe Odunze was over the top. I mean, I don't know his personality, but I always did get that vibe from him that he is an on-field leader and that he is that guy that's just a consummate professional that goes out and does his job. That's great. But I will take, people are like, oh, Beckham was an issue. Beckham was Beckham was a talker, but Beckham didn't get in trouble off the field. I'm fine with Malik Nabers wanting the freaking ball, and people asked him, hey, what if you don't get the ball early? You going to say something? He's like, yeah, I want the damn ball. And Dable goes, hey, that's not the wrong answer. I like that. He goes, but sometimes we may not be able to get you the ball.
Yeah.
So.
But thank you to everybody for being here. And Zach says, good to see you guys. Concerning the Evan Neal situation, how the burgers have flipped. And Chris, hook a brother up with one of those. I'm going to have to, Zach, man. And I love this jacket. I wore it during the draft. I'm going to wear it during the live streams this year. But Aren't you
freaking hot in that shit?
I am hot.
I had to take the sleeves off my shirt to survive down here. It's hot in New York.
You know what's so funny, Bad Dog, is last week, as soon as we finished the show, I turned to you and Pizzle and I said, I forgot how hot it was when we filmed these shows, and I was drenched in sweat at the end of the show. And stupid me, it's hotter today than it was last week, and I'm wearing a winter jacket. But
just say it is freaking hot as hell.
You're in a tank top. I'm dressed like I'm in 2-degree weather. But but Zach, man, thank you very much. He says, to me, I'm not super concerned with the Evan Neal situation because I'm not a believer in Evan Neal at this point. Like, I want to be. I want him to turn the corner, but I'm like half in, half out with him. Like, I'm completely fine if Illuminor wins the starting job. I didn't want Evan Neal to get handed the job. I was excited when the Giants brought in Illuminor because I thought it would at least push Neal. By no means am I saying that I'm not hoping Neal wins the job, because I am. He's younger. We spent the 7th overall pick on him. But listen, if he's not good enough to win that job, you got to get somebody in there who is. We can't have the right tackle this year just completely blow up football games like it's done over the first 2 years since Evan Neal's been with the Giants. So I think it's come to the point, especially now with the Raiders offensive line coach, that he's not going to just get handed this job. He's going to play the guys that he feels gives him the best chance to win football games.
Yeah, unfortunately, you talk about turning the corner, and unfortunately, everybody turns the corner on Evan Neal. Everybody's able to turn the corner on him with the quarterback. So yeah, and these are Brasillo's guys. I mean, Lenore's his, Van Routen's his. It's very possible Neal doesn't get the starting job. Maybe he needs that. Yeah. Maybe that would light a fire under his ass and say, "Whoa, just because I was picked 7th, they're not going to use me."
Or maybe you end up shifting him to the guard at some point. Maybe you make that transition. A lot of people have felt he would be better suited there, even though he's tall for a guard, but he's a much better run blocker than a pass.
I bet you if they moved him next to Andrew Thomas, he could be really.
It would help his confidence. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And AJ says, "Sup guys? Who wins wide receiver 2, Hyatt or Slay? And who wins running back 2?" I guess Wan'Dale's technically the slot. I think Wan'Dale will be the second most targeted receiver, but
Slayton wide receiver 2.
I think it's got to be Slayton, right?
Yeah, I would. He's wide receiver 2.
It's got to be.
It's got to be him.
I'm excited for Hyatt. We'll see. And maybe he will overtake Slayton at some point this year in that role. I think that was the plan when we drafted him. By year 2, you're going to take that role at some point in your second season. So hopefully that does happen. But I think going into the year, it's got to be Slayton. Slayton took a lot of crap. Slayton, for myself included. There were times I would knock him for his drop balls. And we would always complain about how the Giants had the worst wide receiving core or among one of the worst wide receiving cores in football because they did. As much as I like Slayton at this point, I think he's a solid receiver. He should never be a number 1 wide receiver on a football team.
Correct.
And that was the problem. But I think Slayton over the last couple of years, outside of that Minnesota playoff game where he had that crucial drop, thankfully for his sake, the Giants were able to make up for it, has actually been pretty consistent for the Giants. He's been a solid target for the Giants. So I think he's the clear number 2 going into the season right now.
Yeah, I agree. Going in, yes. Ending the year, who knows? Hopefully Hyatt can overtake him because he is young and he is a burner. And I love Jalen Hyatt. I mean, I want him to be great, but Slayton has proven he can play at this level. Slayton has proven to be a very valuable commodity for the Giants, and he's not as good as a money tumor, but he's that type of receiver where he's not going to burn by you. I mean, he did run a 4.39.
He's pretty fast,
but it's years ago.
Yeah,
but it's almost like you can depend on him. Like he's kind of the safety blanket. Speaking of which, I'm kind of impressed with Theo Johnson. I like Theo Johnson. The Giants are very happy with the guys that they got in the draft, and good. I mean, I'm glad they have conviction in who they wanted, and they got the guys they wanted.
Speaking of draft classes, I saw this article today. I forgot where I read it. After they lost somebody from they just cut Aaron Robinson. That's why I read it.
I didn't even know he's a unicorn.
Yeah. Azeez Ojulari is the only remaining member from that draft class now, which is insane. That was 3 years ago. He's the only remaining member, and he probably won't be here next year.
Hopefully Azeez Ojulari stays healthy.
Yeah, that'd be nice. He'd be a good situational pass rusher.
God, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, but he's the only guy left from that draft class from 3 years ago. That Gettleman had some decent drafts. That was an awful draft.
That was a bad one.
Turned out to be an awful draft. AJ says, "Sup guys? We just read that. But and the running back too. That's what I wanted to get back to. I'm leaning Gray's the favorite. You would think. I mean, he's in his second year. But I think it'll be a committee approach. But if I had to guess who's going to get the second most touches, I would lean Gray. But I think it's an open competition. I think Tyrone Tracy certainly could take that role. It's certainly a possibility, but I would lean Gray. But I think clearly there's a 1, and then they'll probably split it amongst the second. I don't think he'll get a lot more touches than Tracy. I think it'll be somewhat evenly distributed, but I would lean Gray as the favorite right now.
You would think so, but who knows? I think that's a crapshoot, honestly. Yeah. Any one of those guys could step up and take that second spot, but I think going into camp, it's Aaron Gray, and we'll see if coming out of it, it's Aaron Gray.
Yeah, we'll see. But I like Gray. I know he didn't get much of an opportunity.
Yeah, I like him too.
I don't like him as a kick returner. He was being
misused. No, he never had to do that before. But
yeah. And Word says, "My guys, what's going on, Word, man? Good to see you, man. Hope you had a good summer. Hope everybody had a good summer. Dr. Garrett is back. Dr. Garrett. What did you say?
Dr. Garrett,
no, was it Brilly? Brilly.
Dr. Garrett.
Who names their kid Brilly? Her name was Brilly, right?
Brill. It was Brill.
Brill. That's right.
Instead of Dilly Dilly, it was Brilly Brilly. And,
right, right.
And I run up the Brill. Let's go cook some hamburgers on the Brill.
And Dr. Garrett says, how's cool, guys? Record for this year got us at 9-8. I mean, I'll throw out a prediction, but it means nothing. The NFL is so unpredictable. But you know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to go 9-8. I think the Giants could surprise some people this year. I'm not going to be scared to be somewhat optimistic this year. Last year, I was way too confident. I'm not saying I'm like strongly confident they're going to go 9-8, but I look at the beginning of our schedule. I see an opportunity for the Giants to get off to a good start. You got Minnesota with Sam Darnold. You got Washington. Maybe you could build a little bit of confidence there. We'll see. But obviously, a lot of it's going to come down to health and how strong that pass rush. I think that's going to be a big deciding factor in how many games the Giants win this year. I think that probably more so than anything else. Because if the Giants have one of the best pass rushes in football, that's going to keep you in most games. And the addition of Brian Burns with Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau year 3, the Giants have some potential to be competitive. I'm not telling you they're winning a Super Bowl. I'm not telling you that I expect them to advance very far in the playoffs. But I think they could be in the mix. And in the NFL nowadays, it's not very hard to be in the mix. 7 teams make the playoffs. So as long as you're hovering, around 500, you're in the mix up until the end of the year. So I think they could do that. I think they could accomplish that.
Look at it this way. Last year was a total disaster.
Yeah.
Should have beat the Bills. Should have happened. Should have beat the freaking Jets.
Yeah.
Could have beat the Eagles on Christmas. Could have beat the Rams. I mean, legitimately, the Giants should have been 8-9. Could have been 9-8 when it made the playoffs with that team.
Think about this, Baddog. With all the injuries we had, and I hate doing this because we do this every year. We used to do this every year. When the team would stink, we'd be like, well, if a bounce went this way and a bounce went that way.
Right.
But with all the injuries the Giants had, and they were loaded with injuries.
Tons.
And they played a brutal schedule.
Yep.
If Graham Gano is healthy and he's the Graham Gano of 2022, and you have all the injuries we had, we probably win 8 games.
I know.
Like that. So football really is a game of inches. It really is.
Yep.
And Elijah Cole says Drew Lock should be our quarterback 1. DJ is not the guy. I'm gonna disagree on that one. But you know what? You're gonna have a lot of people that feel that way, Elijah. So I'm not gonna hate you for that opinion. I don't think Daniel Jones at this point is a franchise quarterback. I hope he proves me wrong this year. I hope he has an unbelievable year. I'm not going into the year expecting that, but I think he's better than Drew Lock. Now, if Daniel Jones stinks or he gets hurt, you'll get your chance. Drew Lock will get to see the field, but I think he's better than Drew Lock.
Daniel Jones is the starter day 1.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones gives the Giants the best chance to win. Some people don't want to hear that, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
He gives us the best chance to win. He may be on a short leash. If you get off to a bad start, it very well could be the end of him very quickly. But going into the year, healthy Daniel Jones, I still feel gives us the best chance to win football games.
Yeah, I think if Daniel Jones could be what he was in 2022, which I don't think is crazy if he could stay healthy, to think he could be that, I could see him being a little bit more successful because now you have Malik Nabers. You have a more explosive playmaker. He could turn 5-yard plays into 60-yard touchdowns. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to set the bar too high for DJ this year. Obviously, last year was a disaster. Not all on him. Obviously, the offensive line was among the worst in the history of the NFL. They surrendered 85 sacks. But yeah, when he was on the field, he was awful. He threw no touchdowns outside of the one half against Arizona. He didn't throw a touchdown all year.
Bad.
So he's bad. He was awful. And Bodo says, hello, General Mills. I meant, and you said later, I think gentlemen. But Bodo, I appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure to see you two together. Nice. You're going to be seeing us a lot more, Bodo. Now it's football season, so you'll be seeing us a lot more every week. Twice a week during the game. So nice to see you guys happy until the first game of the season. Nice to see you guys happy until you said it twice. Bodo, man, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, Bodo's the man. Bodo the go-to.
And Dr. Garrett is back again. He says, guys, do we get comp picks for Saquon and McKinney? That's a good question. I actually have to look into that because, you know what? I'll look into it right now.
They signed Runyon and they signed Illuminor.
It kept fluctuating during. I can tell you right now, though. There's a site that shows.
I would imagine they should because of the contracts that those two guys got.
I'll look it up right now. So right now, at least what is this? Over the cap, they actually have like a way that they project it. Who knows how accurate it is? but they have the Giants right now getting a 4th-round comp pick for McKinney. They have Saquon Barkley being negated by the John Runyon signing. Runyon got 10. It goes by per year salary. It doesn't go based off of the culmination of the entire contract. It goes by per year. So they have Runyon at his 10 million APY, negating Barkley's 12.5. They have Jermaine Luminor negating Ashawn Robinson. They have Singletary and Locke negating Tyrod Taylor and Ben Bredesen. So it left the Giants with a 4th-round comp pick. So they got a 4th-round comp pick for McKinney. At least that's the projection. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'll take a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, of course.
And Mike Nixon says, the boys are back in town. What's up, Entertaining Baddog? I thought it was interesting. They had Marvin Harrison as the number 2 receiver in the draft. Mike Nixon, man, good to see you, man. Yeah, I mean, I think most people had Harrison as the one, but I'm not stunned that Nabers, if he was the Giants one, it seemed like he was. I think there were definitely some teams that had Nabers as their number 1 wide receiver. The guy's ridiculous. The guy's special. It's kind of like picking your favorite ice cream flavor. What type of wide receiver do you think better fits your offense? Harrison, who would I compare? I mean, Harrison's a freak, but Harrison's kind of like a combination of Devontae Smith, because he's a really good route runner, but he's got 3 inches on him and he's bigger. So he's insane.
Is bad?
Yeah, insane. And Nabers is more like, I'm not going to set the bar way too high, but he's kind of like
Beckham.
Yeah.
He's the bigger Beckham.
He's special. I've seen people compare him to prime Antonio Brown. I've seen that. I don't know. He's special. Let's put it that way. He's explosive. He's the type of guy that when he gets the ball in the open field could break tackles like Beckham did and take it to the house. So I'm excited, man. I think the Giants got a great player with that pick.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him.
And Bodo says, sorry, it was supposed to say gentleman, not General Mills. Yeah. Bodo's been drinking. That's okay, man.
Yeah, General Mills is cool.
And Demons Road says, what's good, Mike? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Are we going to be bad this year or straight trash? Low expectations, but we usually do good when we're slept on. Yeah, Demons Road. I think most Giant fans like it. And we've talked about this before. And that's just the vibe I've always gotten from Giants fans, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be from going to the games, talking to my friends who are Giants fans, myself. I've always liked being that slept on team. Not to say that we shouldn't be slept on. We should be. We've been the worst team in the NFL over the last 12 years collectively, or among one of the worst teams. But I don't, maybe I'm too optimistic, Bodo. I don't think we're going to be a laughingstock this year. I'm not telling you we're going to be great, but I don't think we're going to be a laughingstock. And maybe that's me putting too much faith in Brian Daboll. Like, I don't know, Baddog. I just think Brian Daboll is too good of a coach to let this team win 4 or 5 games. And I know they won 6 last year, but that was with everybody under the sun getting hurt, playing a ridiculous schedule. And down the stretch, you look at some of the teams that the Giants beat and competed with DeVito at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did they beat the Rams? They lost to the Rams narrowly, I think.
They lost to the Rams. That was a game we could have won. They
beat
lost,
the Eagles.
They crushed the Eagles. They lost the Eagles by 1 score.
They beat the Packers.
Yep.
Like, the team fights for day. I don't know. I just think Daboll is too good of a head coach for this team to be a complete laughingstock. Yeah. That's just my opinion, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I think we'll be competitive.
What am I going to say? Demons Row, he's my guy. Great people, Demons Row. He does great things down there. Great, almost 1 million subscribers. Tremendous channel.
He's got that
if
many.
If you haven't checked out Demons Row, check him out. He knows what I'm talking about right now. Yeah, he's like 700,000. Huge channel, frankly. Big things there from Demons Row. And Demons Row knows where I'm coming from, frankly. But that's my guy. Demons Row is my guy. And yeah, man, for me, I wouldn't say I'm optimistic. I wouldn't say I'm optimistic for the Giants. I'm hopeful. Yeah. I do believe we have a reason to be hopeful. Things still have to break right, and we are not a finished product. But I really like the way our front office attacked the team, or at least went about their business this year and made some very tough decisions, like letting Saquon Barkley walk. I'm feeling that was for the betterment of the team. And going out and getting linemen to protect Daniel Jones or whoever our quarterback is. If it's Daniel Jones this year and it's, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders next year or Quinn Ewers or whoever it is, you're still building for that position, whether it's Jones or somebody else. I like the trade for Brian Burns. They were obviously very happy with that. I like that they got Bowen's input on who he liked in the defense. I thought the Tyler Nubin pick was great.
Love that pick.
I really like the Theo Johnson pick. I don't really know much about Drew Phillips. I really would have liked them to have Cooper Beebe there, but they obviously wanted a corner, and they said that was the only guy that really lit a fire under them, and they got him. So they were very, like I said, they had a lot of conviction in their picks, and Tyrone Tracy looks like he could make the team and be productive.
Oh, he's gonna make the team.
So you get a 5th round pick that does that. I mean, maybe he's a sleeper.
I'm excited about him.
I'm hopeful.
I'm excited about Tracy. I think he could have a pretty significant role with this team this year. I'm excited about him.
Yeah.
JDJ says Neal's still not practicing after having surgery quite some time ago is very concerning. Hope we don't enter Aaron Robinson territory with Neal. I mean, you and me both. I hope that doesn't become the case. But I'm not, even if he was healthy, I didn't think Neal was guaranteed a job this year. So this puts him behind the 8 ball. So, like, if he comes back before the year starts, he better look good. Otherwise, Illuminor may take that job and run with it. And Roman says, that just gave me Jason Garrett PTSD.
Yeah.
Where is Gary? Isn't he? Garrett's he does like the
broadcast. He's an announcer.
He's a broadcaster, college football,
something.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brady starts this year, doesn't he, in the booth?
Yep.
I'm excited to see how he transitions to the booth.
I'm excited to see. Well, they should have had Brady on. They probably did have Brady on Manningcast.
I don't.
Manningcast coming back. When are the Mannings having us on the Manning?
That'd be great. What's your vibe on Brady as a potential broadcaster? Because to me, as a football player, he never really showed much emotion. He didn't seem like. Do you think he's going to? I mean, he's obviously smart. He knows the game, so he's going to be able to break it down from an X's and O's standpoint. You think he's going to be a good broadcaster?
Seeing that I follow Brady on Instagram and Twitter, because Brady's always been one of my favorite players. I think he's got a good personality. I do. I think that I watch him and Eli go back and forth. I think it's hilarious. I think Brady does have a personality. I honestly do. Again, on the field, you see a very serious guy that wants to win all the time. I think he'll be more relaxed in the booth, but it'll be interesting. I mean, Tony Romo, I think, is great at what he does. So I don't think Brady will be that good, but I'm definitely interested to see how he does.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean,
shit. It's good to have a color commentator, an analyst that understands the game of football. You're not going to find a guy that knows much more than Brady. He knows how to win. Brady's got more Super Bowls than any team in the history of football.
He's a winner. You can't deny that.
Know.
Yeah, and Fisher says, will Nabers have a better career than OBJ?
Hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know if he'll ever hit the peak that OBJ hit, which was arguably the greatest 3-year start in the history of the NFL for a wide receiver, or among one of the greatest 3-year starts in the history of the NFL for a wide receiver. Justin Jefferson's probably got an argument for that at this point. But if Nabers stays healthy, I think he will. I mean, Beckham's right now, I think he's got around 7,000 career yards. Obviously, a lot of that due to injury, but if Nabers stays healthy, I think he will have a better career than OBJ. Can he stay healthy? We'll see. It's a roll of the dice. And he says, also thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. I'm going to be honest with you, Fisher. I didn't even know about that. I don't love that idea, though. I hate when, if that's accurate, I hate when Marvel does that, when they play or, they've done that with several actors. Chris Pine, I think they put in different roles. They've done that with a couple of actors in Marvel or DC movies where they played in different roles. I hate that. Like, he's Iron Man. I don't want to see him as Dr. Doom, so I don't like that idea. Chris says, sup, Dane and Baddog. Carl Banks said my guy Isaiah Simmons is looking good in training camp I saw that today. I actually poked my head onto Twitter today, and I think the only person I read was Carl Banks. And I saw some of the things he said, and he did say that about Simmons. He says, I believe Simmons will bowl out this season. Yeah, I'm interested to see, and I think we talked about this on your channel last week. I'm interested to see the role they have carved out for Simmons, because when they announced Bowen as the DC, I didn't think we were bringing back Simmons. I really didn't, because I thought he was a much better fit for a defense similar to that of Winks, where, a lot of times you're dropping multiple guys back into covers that play at the linebacker spot. He's a more of a versatile player. So I'm intrigued to see the role that Bowen has for him. But listen, at times Simmons looked good for the Giants, so I'm excited. And now he's got a lot of talent around him. So hopefully with a more defined role, he could really find his niche with this Giants defense.
I would love to just see him be a pass rusher.
Yeah. Go get the quarterback, bro. 3rd and 8, go get the quarterback. I just because when we had Carl Banks on the channel on the show, obviously Simmons has a ton of talent. He went 8th overall in the draft, but it's almost like he thinks too much sometimes when he's playing the run or he's out in coverage. And it's not because of that. But if you hesitate in the NFL, you're too late. I mean, we see with Daniel Jones. As soon as you hesitate, it's over. I would just like Isaiah Simmons, go get the quarterback, dude. Just go in there and get he's fast, he's athletic, he's strong, he's long. Just go kill the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I would like, the Giants used to have that NASCAR package years ago. And I don't see why you couldn't.
They got the pieces for it now, man.
They do. I don't know how much of a NASCAR guy Dexter Lawrence is. He's more like the hauler, but that's okay.
I'll tell you what, pound for pound, Dexter Lawrence might be the fastest guy in the NFL. For him to be able to move the way he does at his it's kind of in reverse when I say that, but
he's special.
Yeah, for a guy of his weight to be able to move the way he does, he moves a lot faster than a guy that's 343, whatever, how much he weighs, but he's a pretty damn good pass rusher for a guy his size.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what. I think Dexter Lawrence is going to be the best defensive tackle in the NFL. That's how good I think he is.
I think he is already.
That's how good I think he is.
I think he is now.
Yeah, he's insane. So I'm excited to see what he does this year. Bodo says, hey, just because I use voice to text and it doesn't understand my Southern twang, sometimes does not mean I've been drinking that much. Bodo, man, I appreciate you for being here, man. So, all right, so you're not drinking. My mistake. I blame technology. That's all right. You can blame technology for you throwing back
the
a couple
technology is probably drinking. We all know that it's messed up.
John Kirk says, offensive line of Thomas Runyon, JMS, Van Rotten, and Illuminor with Mannertz as a blocking tight end. We may not suck. How are we 1.5 game home dogs to Sam Darnold week 1?
Because we're the Giants.
We're the Giants. And I can't blame the Vegas for having us as an underdog. I'm picking us. I'll tell you that right now. I'm picking us.
We should be able to beat Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think we're going to win at home with all that time to prepare for Sam Darnold, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, John, I'm not going to get over the top excited about the offensive line. I need to see results, but it can't be worse than last year. So,
definitely can't be.
And I guess what I'm cautiously optimistic about is these guys have performed well with Purcell before, namely Van Rotten and of course Illuminor. So there's at least a track record of some moderate success. Last year, Van Rotten at 33 years old had his highest, take it for what you will, take it with a grain of salt with PFF, but he had his highest PFF grade of his entire career. He had I think it was a 76 grade. He started every game last year for the Raiders. So I like that signing. It was only $3 million. So I like that signing by the Giants.
Yep. I like it too.
Silky Legend says, what's up, guys? Thoughts on Theo Johnson? I think he got Waller potential with size and crazy athleticism. Sleeper for a top 3 receiver for us. I mean, I think long-term, he's going to be a playmaker for this team. I don't want to set the bar too high because we've done that as Giants fans with rookies before, but every fan does it. You all get excited about your rookies. I don't know how big of a role he'll have as a rookie. We'll see, but he's clearly a guy that's capable of being a playmaker, and I think he'll have some kind of involvement in this offense, even as a rookie. So I'm excited about Theo Johnson. I know Bobby from Talkin' Giants loved him pre-draft. He was beyond over the moon excited when we drafted him, and yeah, I think that's exactly why we drafted him. We knew that we were going to lose Darren Waller, or at least that's, where it seemed like it was trending when the Giants made the pick. And he's, not to compare him to Waller. Waller was an incredible tight end, when he was healthy in the NFL, but he's that type of player. Like he could fit that niche for this football team. So yeah, I'm excited to see. And don't forget about Bellinger. Bellinger was pretty good as a rookie for the New York Giants. So the Giants have a pretty good tight end room between Johnson and Bellinger.
The Giants loved Theo Johnson. I mean, he's a big dude. He's 6'6", 260. He runs a 4.57 40. So obviously he's a really big target, and he's got some speed. He's got size, obviously. So, I feel like Theo Johnson could be a guy that is very productive down in the red zone. I mean, we really haven't had that guy. We thought Galladay was going to be that guy, and it certainly never amounted to that. We thought Waller would be the guy last year, and it did not happen. I'm not saying that will be, but I do think Theo Johnson gives you that threat down there. So I like the Theo Johnson pick. I feel like he could definitely have some production for the Giants. Brian Dable has never been one to really get his tight ends involved in a passing game. But again, if you're looking to get some safe, quick throws from Daniel Jones, a guy like Theo Johnson could definitely help. And if the Giants go back to what they did, and I do believe that they will have a lot of that for Daniel Jones, where it's 1-2 go instead of 1-2-3 go, with Dable calling the plays. Again, I don't think Daniel Jones they're going to say, hey, go out there and throw the ball 45, 50 times a game and throw for 300 yards. I think they'll do what they did in 2022. Don't turn the ball over. Get the ball out of your hands quick. Safe throws. Let's play ahead of the sticks. Let's get some first downs.
I agree. I think you will see that, but I think you'll see a little bit more selective aggression. But I agree the overall
with Nabers and Hyatt, definitely.
With Nabers, with Nabers. But I agree the overall game plan will be manage the game, keep us in the game. The strength of our team is clearly our defensive line. Keep us close in these games. Let's force some turnovers. Let's close out the game on that side of the ball. So I agree with you. I think that will be they'll be very similar offensively, I think, even though there's been a lot of reports saying that they think the Giants are going to throw the ball a lot more this year. We'll see. But I think it's going to be I'm predicting it's going to be much more similar to 2022, but selectively more aggressive. And now we have a guy like Nabers who could turn a screen pass into a 30-yard gain. So we have better playmakers at that position. So that'll help too. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be don't lose us the game, control the clock, let the defense close it out. That I think is the right approach.
My guy Colin Johnson just scored a touchdown. I loved that kid.
Colin Johnson, man.
I wanted Colin Johnson to make the Giants so bad. I liked him at Texas. I hope he does well. I always wished him well. So it was cool to see him score a touchdown there. But yeah, man. I mean, the Giants definitely have deeper threats now, like they have. But that's the thing. Like you can throw an 8-yard pass to Malik Nabers. He can make it 80 yards.
Yeah.
You don't need to take massive, deep shots. Maybe they do throw the ball a little bit more, but I would imagine.
Give me your hot take this year, Baddog. Give me your positive hot take this year for the Giants.
Positive hot take.
Yeah. Who stuns this year for the Giants?
Stuns.
Yeah.
Hot take. That's freaking hard. Hot take. Tyler Nubin, 6 interceptions.
Okay, I like that. I think he had like 13 interceptions. I think in his collegiate career. I think he had like 6 last year, if I'm not mistaken. I like that. It's not bad. I like that. That's pretty good. That's a hot take. I like it. Let's get some of the hot takes in the chat. I'm curious to see what the chat thinks. We'll pull up a couple of those. Always like talking about that before the season starts. Joshua says, secondary terrifies me, even if the pass rush is good. It should. I don't know if I would use the word terrify. It's unproven. But listen, at the end of the day, and he's a rookie, but Tyler Nubin's going to be a guy that you expect to contribute day one. I mean, you took a safety.
Pinnock was good for us last year.
You took a safety. And I actually read today, they said it's Dane Belton's job to lose. Shane Bowen said that. Safety.
Yeah, Belton's been really good in training camp.
Yeah, so
and he was another ball hawk, Chris.
Yeah,
he had like 3 or 4. He had like 2 picks and 2 fumble recoveries the last 3 games. And something Capizzo mentioned last week, and he made a good point. With this defense now, we had no turnovers. Like we had no turnovers. We were constantly starting deep in our own territory, right? So you get some guys that can get some sacks or strip sack fumble, and you put the offense in a good position to score, where we don't have to go 75 yards to score a touchdown. We might have to go 25. That certainly helps. And I think the addition of a guy like Brian Burns certainly helps that. And I think you have some guys in Dane Belton and Tyler Nubin that know how to take the ball away. And Banks had a very good rookie year. And Pinnock had a pretty good year too. Again, cornerback 2, I think, is definitely questionable.
Cornerback 1 is 2. I like Deonte Banks, but you've never asked him to be exclusively the one week in and week out. So I think that's a question mark too. I like Banks. I think he could be up for the challenge, but I that's obviously going in by far the biggest question mark on defense. Like
Cordell Flott, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah,
Flott. I don't know. Who knows?
But we'll see. I'm not going to say I don't want to use the word terrified, but I'm
worried.
I'm
skeptical.
Yeah, questionable, I guess. Like I don't know. I need to see, but it's that I'm least sure about that unit on the defensive side of the ball. That's for sure. But there's potential there, right? Tyler Nubin's a guy we both really like. You know, we talked about Deontay Banks, showed some promise. I actually like Cordell Flott. And I think he was always projected to be better on the outside. We'll see if he gets that opportunity this year. So I think there's some potential there, but obviously big question marks. Like if you told me going into the year, Chris, the Giants are going to have a bottom 5 secondary in the NFL, I would say that's very possible. So, you know, there's a lot of question marks in that secondary, but it's
that's why you go out and get Brian Burns, because a good front seven alleviates the pressure on your secondary when the quarterback don't have 6 seconds to sit back there and survey the field. So that certainly helps. And the fact that Bowen is not a blitzer and doesn't take those chances and won't leave those guys out there on an island, I think the fact that the secondary is probably the weakest part of our defense probably fits Bowen's system better than it would Wink's.
100%. 100%. With Wink's defense, it was the opposite. You needed a lockdown secondary because of how often he blitzed. With this defense, you're relying on being able to drop back and have extra coverage and relying on your front four to be able to get to the quarterback in a timely manner. So 100%, the secondary is much more important in a style of defense that Wink runs. You have to hope, like you said, the pass rush is able to mask some of the holes in that secondary, which, listen, at the end of the day, and we've said this before, not that I'm absolutely not comparing this to our Super Bowl teams, but 2007, we didn't have a very good, I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't like the strength of the defense. You know, we had a veteran with McCorder. Like, we didn't have like an elite, Aaron Ross was a rookie. We didn't have an elite secondary, but that pass rush hit a lot of those question marks back there, right? If you have a pass rush, you can make up for a mediocre secondary. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. You know, the first 2 games we got lit up. And then they started to go. So, I don't know. You know, we'll see what we got. But I think the Giants have one of the best front sevens in football. So I'm excited about what that defense could be, because I've always been a defensive guy. You grew up in the 80s. That's what the Giants are known for. And, you know.
And Rich Rod says, sign cornerback 2. That's what I thought they were going to do. Get a vet. They still may, before the year starts, get a veteran in here. I think they're going with the young guys, though, Rich. We'll see. That's what it appears to me. They're going to go with the young guys and see what they got. But we'll see. Maybe they will still sign a veteran before the year starts. Trade Neal for a 5th. I don't even know if you would get a 5th for Neal at this point. Like, I don't know. Like, with his contract, you got to remember, Rich, he makes a lot of money, right? Because of how high he was taken in the draft. Like, you know, he's a free agent in 2 years. Maybe you would get a 5th. But, yeah, I don't think you would get much more than that. Me personally, Rich, if I was Shane, being that I invested as much as I did into Neal, I'm not saying that he has to get a shot at the right tackle. If Illuminor is playing well, the Illuminor stays. You don't mess with that. But I would at least try to maybe experiment to see if he can make a transition to the guard spot before I say, let's just cast him off for a nothing pick. That's just my opinion on it. And actually, in hindsight, Rich Rod, and I remember, I don't remember if I said this. I remember you definitely said it. You were of the mindset that the Giants should have put Flowers at guard before they moved him out. So
definitely. Yeah. And he ended up being a pretty good guard. I screamed about it for years. Why don't you move him inside? He can run block. He's not a left tackle. He was never a left tackle. Like, move him to right guard. Let him play guard. Yeah. And he went to Washington and he played guard and he did okay. And he got $30 million from the Dolphins. So guard was the way to go. So yeah, I wouldn't trade Neal without exploring, like you said, Chris, without exploring at least moving him inside to see if he could be productive there. Yeah. Because if you, even though you don't usually draft a guard 7th overall, at least you're getting some value out of him.
Oh, if you get a good, if he's a good guard, Giants fans will be okay with it.
Correct.
And, you know, they'll be okay with it. Let's get to some of these hot takes. Austin Smith is going to start. He says, hot take, Hyatt 1,000 yards or damn near close. Austin, I'm going to say, one, I love your optimism, and I love Jalen Hyatt, but I hope you're wrong, because I think the only way he has 1,000 yards is we're going to have injuries in the wide receiving core. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he will get that starting job right away over Darius Slayton. Maybe he'll impress so much in preseason, but I think the only way Hyatt would have that kind of year is the Giants would have to have some pretty significant injuries in that wide receiving core. But hey, maybe I'll be wrong. I'm excited for Hyatt. We'll see.
I don't know that he gets enough targets.
Yeah.
But I would love to. I would love him to get 1,000 yards. I'd be him and Neighbors get 1,000 yards.
The plug says Wandell one. That's more likely. Again, question mark, can he stay in the field? But Baddog, when Wandell saw the field the last 4 weeks, we said it constantly during those last.
He looks like a player.
He looked damn good. So I'm with you on that. The plug. If he plays 17 games, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Wandell gets 1,000 yards. I think that's in play. Aziz 10 sacks. I think Papa Goose might be smoking some hash, but you never know. You know,
he could stay healthy.
He had 8 sacks in year 2.
He did. Just stay in the damn field.
Yeah,
I mean, with all those other guys out there, it is possible if he could play 17 games.
Sherrod says Tibbs 15 sacks. I actually made that same hot take prediction last week, so I could see it. You got Brian Burns on the other side now. Now he's in a defense that better fits his skill set. You're not asking him to drop back and covers nearly as much as Wink did. You're asking him to do what he does best, get after the quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Tibbs gets 15 sacks or at least approaches 15 sacks. So I like that one, Sherrod. I like that hot take. DJ can combine for 25 touchdowns. Can he play 17 games? If he plays 17 games, yeah, he should have 25 combined touchdowns if he plays 17 games. But can he stay on the field? We'll find out. Giants win the division, Otis the Cow says.
That's a hot take.
It's a hot take, but I love it.
I do think the Cowboys and Eagles take a step back.
Yeah.
And I do think that Washington and New York take a step up, but I don't know that the Commanders and Giants have enough to overtake those other two teams yet. But I think the gap gets much narrower this year between them.
I agree with that.
I don't think any team goes undefeated in this division. I don't think any team's going 6-0 in this division. I don't think any team's going 0-6 in this division either, which means
Yeah,
so,
I don't see a team in this division winning more than 12 games. And I don't think a team in this division is going to win 12 games. I think it's going to be in that
10 to 11.
7 to 11 range for every team in this division. Yeah. I think it's going to be pretty tight. I don't think anybody's running away with the division this year.
I don't either.
Let's see. And hot take height at that. Oh, we already read that. Cordell Flott is I don't hate Cordell Flott. I actually said that today. I don't hate Cordell Flott. He just needs to get more of an opportunity. I don't know if he could be an every down player, but I mean, listen, he had that huge play against Minnesota in the playoffs. That was one of the biggest plays of the game. So hopefully he gets an opportunity and he's successful this year. Jackson says, everyone at practice today was telling me how surprised about how tall I was. Jackson Black says, okay. Let's see. Hot Jake, Giants win 2 games all year. If you go on Twitter, that's a popular take. So
right.
And John, what's going on? He says, positive hot take. Motor will rush for 12. That's a great nickname, by the way. Will rush for 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. You're dead to us, 26.
I'll tell you what, John, if that happened, Joe Shane would look like an absolute genius. And anybody that ever doubted him would have to eat their words.
I like Singletary. He's not Saquon, but I like Singletary. He runs hard, much harder.
I think that Singletary can get 1,000 yards.
I think he can. I definitely think
scrimmage. Scrimmage, not rushing, but I think 1,000 yards for scrimmage is not out of the question.
I don't think 1,000 yards on the ground is out of the question. I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah, if he got 1,000 yards rushing for us at $5 million a year, like I said, Joe Shane looks like an absolute genius.
Yeah, we'll see. Chef says
there's your hot take, right? Singletary gets more rushing yards than Saquon. How about that?
That would be Saquon would have to get hurt. I mean, with
it's the track record speaks that he'll miss 4 games.
Yeah, and Chef says if we could stay healthy, in parentheses, laughing my effing ass off, I'd love to see us utilize the Wildcat like we did with Dave's first year. Read options are deep. Yeah, we didn't really see that at all last year, the Wildcat. You're right. We kind of got away from that, though, Chef, after I remember the Giants sprinkled that in, I want to say like the first 3, 4, 5 weeks of 2022, and then they kind of got away from it. But, yeah, listen, especially with a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson around the goal line, like I feel that's a guy that you could really utilize that kind of play with.
Tyrone Tracy could utilize.
Tyrone Tracy's another guy, yeah. So we'll see. That, to me, might end up being the most important and significant change this entire offseason. Brian Dable calling the plays.
Yep.
And that's something I'm excited about. I always thought he was going to take that over. It was pretty obvious. I understood why he didn't from the jump because he had never been a head coach before. So, you want to kind of get your bearings, learn. And obviously he's had a lot to learn from. He's been criticized due to the way he's handled some of the coaches on the team. And he says he's learned from that. He lost a lot of weight. We'll see. But I
got Dave's in the gym. We took Dave's. We slimmed him down a little bit. Mike Kafka is just there to get Joe Shane as Starbucks. That's what I think Kafka's there for.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see Dable as the play caller and what the impact he may make on this team. Tuto, good to see Tuto, man. Hope he's doing well in Italia. He says,
grazie.
Salute and respects to Tane and Baddog and all the Dia Giants fans and at the pond. Greetings from our entire team in Italy. 2 weeks away from our season opener. Please pray for my victims. Tuto, Tuto, man, good to see you. Tuto, you should. Do they have rugby in the Olympics? They must. Right? They got rugby in the Olympics.
We got rugby in the Olympics. Yeah, my son was watching girl rugby.
How is Tuto should be over in the Olympics? What is he doing?
Should be in the Olympics.
He's built bigger than you. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Tuto puts me to shame. It's not even close.
Tuto should be. I gotta watch I haven't watched too much of it. I've seen it here and there. I haven't watched.
My son just loves anything to do with the female athletes.
Are you more of a winter or a summer Olympic guy?
Summer guy. I ran track. I am definitely. Track and field hasn't started yet. I like the diving and I like swimming. And I like the track and field. I am definitely I like the Winter Olympics too. I love the ice hockey and, I think the skiing is cool, but I'm definitely more of a summer Olympic guy. But I just like the summer better.
I feel like most people
obviously I love the basketball.
Yeah. I think most people line with you. I don't know. Like I'm about even because there's certain things I like about as boring as I actually enjoy watching curling. I enjoy watching
curling. Became a big thing for me. I don't remember the Russian chick's name. I just remember seeing her going,
yeah. I know we
talked about that when it was happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I watched it just because I wanted to, like every hot-blooded male was like, yes. And then I watched it. I'm like, actually, this is pretty damn cool. And the more I watched it, and yes, I think curling it's definitely my favorite winter sport. I enjoy the curling. Didn't understand the way it was played at first, but I like it. I like
hockey. The Olympic hockey's fun to watch. The skiing, but the what is it? The bobsled. So I don't know. I guess I
like them both.
I like them both. I like them both.
And honestly, the Winter Olympics are cool because it happens in February, and not a lot goes on in February.
That's true.
Outside of basketball, well, during the summer, well, it's kind of a dead time now. It's just baseball. Football is getting underway, and there's no basketball. But I do like them both, but I prefer the summer. Just I love the track and field events, so that's really why.
I don't usually watch it. I watched the opener to the Olympics this year, where it was pouring rain, and I actually thought that was really good. It was I enjoyed that. It was good. So that I found entertaining. Joshua says, "Did you guys see the color-coded draft chart?"
Yes. On Hard Knocks.
Oh, on Hard Knocks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw it. Yeah. I saw it. Yep. I didn't make out what was on it, but yes, I did.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't understand it, but I saw it there.
Yeah. Let's see. And thank you guys for being here, man. He says, Giants going top 5 pick live. Live. I hope not. I know there's some Giants fans that go into the year hoping for that. I don't know. I refuse to go into a year and be miserable and just hope for my team to lose so I get a high draft pick.
That guy's a bandwagon Eagle fan. I've been reading some of his stuff in the chat.
Is he? Okay. No, there are legitimately some Giants fans probably going into the year hoping for that, but I can't do that. Let's see. Knicks are going to win it all. I actually don't hate that take. I think the Knicks right now, Bowler, obviously we're talking Giants, but I think the Knicks right now are by far the close. Well, the Rangers are really good too, but the Knicks got a real legitimate chance. Like last year, it was fun. You knew they were good. You were hoping
injuries hurt them.
Yeah, and even if they were healthy, you were hoping they could get to Boston and give them a fight. You knew they weren't going to.
They would have. They gave them a fight all year.
Yeah,
Boston's still the team they got to get by.
But you had Mikal Bridges.
Yeah,
Knicks got a shot.
They should be good.
They got a shot.
I don't know that they can beat Boston in 7, but they should make the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston.
They're going to give them a war, too, if they're healthy.
Of course. That'd be like the old days.
Yeah, the Knicks got a squad. Tudo says, Tana, we're rugby union's 15s with the most brutal tackles and violence we ain't allowed in the Olympics. He's so violent they don't allow him in the Olympics. Okay, that's what it is. But rugby sevens equal to American tag football. Non-violence is that what it is? Okay, so that's why Tudo's not there. You're not allowed to hit people. You're not allowed to hit people. Let's see. Olympic committee needs to grow a pair. In regards, to be honest, I haven't followed. I don't know what you're referencing, Davey, but I'm sure you might be right. I don't know what you're referencing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let's see. Let's get to a couple of people in the chat. John says, I always go into every year saying we are winning all of our games. Well, John, if you need therapy at the end of the year, let me know. I'll charge half price for whatever you pay because you're certainly in therapy if you go in every year thinking we're going to win every game. He says, obviously, I'm too hopeful. Still think we do better than last year. We better do better than last year because it's going to be a really sad place if we don't. I mean, we ended up winning, 6 games last year, but we were out of it by like week 6. So
we did make a comeback, but yeah, if you started off 1-5, that's definitely not going to get it done. Yeah.
By the way, I saw somebody mention the Yankees finally getting their act together, right? They're like 21 games over now or something like that.
Yeah, the Yankees have won 5 in a row, and their offense all of a sudden, getting Stanback certainly helped, but now they're getting contributions from other people. I mean, the Chisholm trade is looking great. I wasn't really high on that trade when they made it, but he hit 4 home runs in his first, one of them was off a position player, but still definitely brings an athleticism and an excitement that the Yankees don't have. LeMahieu drove in 6. LeMahieu should retire. He's been terrible. That was a career high for him. Hit the big grand slam, and the Yankees had a come from behind victory. And then, of course, they blew it because Clay Holmes can't close anything, and they ended up winning in extra innings. So they swept the Phillies. They blew a game against the Red Sox that they shouldn't have. They really should have swept them too. But the offense all of a sudden is picking it up, and it's because other guys are hitting. And when you get Jason Dominguez healthy and you put Stanton there, Verdugo's starting to hit. Like, Verdugo is a streaky guy. And he went through a horrible slump for like a month. And now Verdugo is leading off and hitting the hell out of the baseball. So I still wish the Yankees would have went out and got Finnegan from the Nationals. That was something. Leiter obviously helps their bullpen, but they didn't really do much.
Yeah.
Mets
did the same thing. They didn't do anything either.
There's no real dominant team, and now that most teams have a chance to make the postseason even when they're not good, it's hard to make the trades they used to make. So yes, the Yankees did the Mets and Braves a favor by beating the Phillies.
Yes, well, we're so far behind them, but yeah, I still like that you beat the Phillies. Rich says we got a shot at we're right in the wild card race though, which is
that's true.
Much better than I thought we'd be at if you asked me a month ago. Rich says my future brother-in-law became an Eagles fan when the Giants traded Odell.
So he was never a Giants fan.
Oh, Rich, man. Family's important when you get married, man. And it's not a good start, man. That's not a good start. But I hope it works out for you, man. You must really love her, man. And then he says, so now he's Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Yankees, and Rangers. I told my sister, don't trust him.
How can you like the Yankees and Philly? And not that they're rivals, but how do you have 2 favorite?
Rich, I know it's like tradition when you get married. If your wife has a brother or vice versa, if you're a woman and your husband has a sister, you traditionally put them in your wedding party. You're joining family. I get that, but you can't put them in your wedding party.
Yeah, he can't be
You can't put him in your wedding party. It can't happen. Can't happen.
He's got to be dead to him, bro.
Yeah. And John says, Chris and Baddog, you're all the best, even though y'all are Giants fans. You know the Eagles all the way, Chris. How do you see the NL East finishing? I think the Phillies are going to run away with it. I mean, you guys have had among the best records in baseball all year, so I think you guys win it. I think the Braves will get in as a wild card. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I think the Mets are going to just miss out because the end of their schedule is just brutal. But hey, I mean, the Mets have surprised me. Like I said to Baddog a month ago, I would have said you're crazy if the Mets were in this. So we'll see. But yeah, it's at least the Mets have given me some hope this year when it looked like it was hopeless at the beginning of the year.
Johnny, my Yankees did a number on your Phillies.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
We did a number on you.
And John says, I played rugby for 19 years. Damn, John. He says, shout out to my guy from Italy. Yanks are back, bad though. Yanks are looking good.
They're looking good right now, John. But again, the Yankees are such an all or nothing team. They were 50-22. Then they went 11-24. They were the worst team in baseball over 35 games. And now they won 5 in a row. They're a very frustrating team because it's really, there's like no in between. When they're playing the way they are right now, nobody's going to beat them. What we have to hope for, John, is they get into the postseason. Hopefully they win the division. I mean, you don't want to play the wild card if you can help it. You win the division, and you hope when they win the division, they get in one of these streaks where they are red hot for 2 weeks and they win it.
Yeah.
Because they can do that, but they could also get eliminated and get swept in the first round because it's just the way we play.
Yeah. Chris L says, are you guys nervous about MetLife hosting the World Cup final in 26? That's really cool, by the way. The biggest sporting event, not that I'm the huge soccer guy, but the biggest sporting event in the world is going to be at MetLife Stadium in 26. The scenes from the Copa final were bonkers. I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. I don't know what because like I said, I don't follow soccer very closely, but I do know that soccer fans are lunatics. And the World Cup, not really. What I am excited about, and I don't know if it's going to transfer over. I would think it would transfer over on the football field. If I'm not mistaken, I remember soccer fans telling me about this when they announced the World Cup was going to be at MetLife. It has to be grass, right? I think. So I'm hoping that translates to the football field. That would be exciting. But we'll see. And I think if I'm not mistaken, they actually have to make the field wider too. I think I remember reading that for the World Cup, but we'll see. But no, I'm not too worried about. I mean, we have enough violence in this country. A couple of soccer hooligans aren't going to put much of a dent into that.
I mean, it's New York City. Well, it's just South of the city. I mean, city's the city.
Oh, and Rich says my sister is marrying him. Oh, my mistake, Rich. My mistake. Okay, so he's going to be your brother-in-law. Okay, you're not getting married. Your sister's getting married. Okay.
Yeah, well, hopefully, you let your sister know. He's gonna, if he switches allegiances like that, I mean, how can you trust him?
And Bleed says they forced the NFL to switch to grass. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's permanent, though. I know that they have to do it for the World Cup. I don't know if they're going to transition back, which, by the way, it is the biggest bullshit excuse, in my opinion. And listen, I don't work for the Giants. I don't pretend to be a landscaper or whatever, but they say that the cost is too much, right? And I get it. They play double the amount of games on the field than any other team because the Jets and Giants share a stadium. But they also have double the amount of money. You have 2 football teams.
Correct.
Put grass on the field. That like you would think if it could save a couple of players, from a few injuries throughout the course of the year, you would do it. Put grass on the field.
Yep.
And Tudo says, Dana, there are 3 types of rugby sports, mate. Rugby unions, 15s, most brutal tackles and violent. We ain't on national TV. And rugby league, 15s, non-violent. And okay. So you're the most violent one, Tudo. You're the most violent one, Tudo.
Makes sense.
And John says it is used for concerts. I know it's used for concerts, but put grass on the field, man.
Yeah, roll it out. Roll the sod out. Roll it back when they got a concert.
Put grass on or you have the concert in the parking lot for all I care. I don't care, but you have adjustable seating. I don't know. But they need to have grass on the field, man. Let's see. Hey guys, I'm not a Jones guy, but if everyone is let me read this. Hey guys, I'm not a Jones guy, but if everyone is healthy, he should have a solid year, but don't think they like him enough to bring their own rookie in soon. Yeah, I mean, I have the same stance on DJ I had pretty much going into last year in the sense, not that I expect him that, I was very high on him in terms of I thought he was going to take a leap last year, but I think the Giants, they're willing to move off of Daniel Jones if they get presented with an opportunity they feel is worth it. They're also not going to rush to take a guy that they don't love.
Right. They would have done that with McCarthy if that was the case.
So that's where they are. I said it last week. I think it's almost identical to 2022 if just talking about Daniel Jones. Like, if he gets the team to the playoffs, you analyze it like this, Bad Dog. If the Giants make the playoffs this year and they're picking 24th again or 25th or wherever they were picking, you say to yourself, well, what would you do in that spot? Would you give up all those resources to go up and get a quarterback? It would be like 3 or 4 first-round picks. Would you cut ties with Daniel Jones when you would only save $19 million on a when $19 million is nothing at the quarterback position with the raised cap as it continues to accelerate. You have to replace him with somebody. So I think Jones is in the same spot he was going into 2022. If he gets this team into the playoffs, he's probably going to be the starter in 2025.
Right.
We'll see, but that's just my opinion on the matter.
If the Giants suck and they're picking top 10 again, he's gone.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Or if he gets hurt.
Yeah, he's got to get them to the playoffs, and he's got to at least match what he did in 2022. But we'll see. Tudo says, Dana, I already read that, but thank you, Tudo. And Brandon says, did you guys see what Waller said about the Giants? Yeah, I saw bits and pieces. I know that he said something. He praised the Giants organization. I know that. I read that. I don't remember the exact quotes, but I did read that today on Twitter briefly. And he said, somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought he said something along the lines of basically, and paraphrasing a bit, that like Daniel Jones didn't have a chance, like with the way that the team.
Yeah, right.
I think he said something to that effect.
Yeah.
But he praised the Giants organization. Yeah, I saw that. And Toasty says the whole stadium sucks. It's boring and bland. You talking about MetLife? Yeah,
my favorite.
It's when you look, and I understand that stadiums evolve over the course of time, and at this point, MetLife has been around now for almost 20 years, right? Well, when was it built?
15 years. I think it was built in 2009. 15
years. Yeah, so 15 years. So 15 years is a long time in the evolution of stadiums. But you look at some of these newer stadiums. I mean, the Cowboy Stadium is not that much newer, right? When was that built? Like 2000?
The same year.
Same year, right? So you look at that stadium, and I understand that taxes go a lot. They are a lot higher in New York. So $2 billion or whatever it costs to make these things goes a longer way in Dallas. I understand that. But you look at that stadium, you compare it to ours, it's like, come on. It's like, what were we doing? And you had two teams to help contribute to the fund. So, I'm not going to like completely crap on the stadium, but I was underwhelmed when I went there for the first time.
Yeah.
It's
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could have done a lot better.
Let's see.
Just saying.
Let's see. The problem isn't if DJ is bad. If he is, you can move off him and draft high. Worst thing is if he's mid, and that may happen. And we'll see. But, I'm not going to worry about that going into the year. I'm going to enjoy the season.
Right.
Let's see. I'll say this, whether you hate or love DJ, nobody should pray for his lack of production for a gotcha. Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, I would say if you're rooting for him to fail just to go, I told you, then you're not a fan. I'm sorry. You don't root against your team to prove that you're right. Nobody, at the end of the day, nobody cares if you're right. So you had a good take on Twitter. Does anybody care? Does anybody remember it? No.
People forget about your takes in 2 days.
Exactly.
But and to be fair, D'Alto, I don't think most Giant fans are that way. I think there's a small, loud minority that may be that way, but it's the overwhelming majority of Giants fans are
rooting for Daniel Jones. They know if Daniel Jones plays well, we play well.
He's the quarterback of the football team. I think there's a divide in the fan base where there are some fans that are rooting for Daniel Jones, but they have no hope that he's going to achieve what he needs to for this team to be successful. But
that's understandable. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah. But I think they're still rooting for Daniel Jones.
Some people they want to shove their agenda down your throat, and that's their agenda is crap on Daniel Jones at all costs, no matter what.
Yeah. That's just stupid. Like if you're a fan of a football team going into a year, why would you root for the player that plays the most important position to not do well? It's just stupid.
Right.
Exactly. And John says, guys, I love and respect y'all, but how dare you to talk bad about my Eagles in any capacity? Phillies bats need to wake up. Harper is like one for 30. Yeah, I mean,
Harper hit a homer the other day.
Yeah, Phillies. I mean, I think the Phillies will be fine, John. They've been consistently one of the best teams in baseball all year. As far as your Eagles go, listen, I think the Eagles are good. I just don't think they're great. I don't put them in the same level as like the Niners, for example. And I even have the Lions above them. So, but I think they're good. We'll see with Jason Kelce leaving, what kind of effect that has, but we'll see. You're better than us going in on paper for sure. We can't talk about the Eagles until we, sweep them one year, something we haven't been able to do in forever. So we'll see.
We kicked their ass last year, and I've had that in my holster all off season to just let Philadelphia fans know we kicked their ass. Not only did we kick their ass, we made them quit. They tapped out. They threw in a white flag. Get A.J. Brown out of the game. Get Hurts. These guys are kicking our ass. Get them off the field. Because Dallas and Washington were playing a close game at the time. So it's not like that was already decided. They're like, I don't care. Just get these guys. The Giants are hurting us. Get us off. Yeah. And I don't know why Eagle fans all of a sudden think that, we're going to the Super Bowl again. They lost 7 of the last 8 games, and they weren't just losing them. I mean, they were getting their asses
and they lost at teams. They lost to the Cardinals, the Giants. They lost to bad teams.
Right, and the Bucks destroyed them. Or not they played the Bucks, right? In the postseason? Yeah, the Bucks destroyed them in the postseason. Yeah. And they have 2 new coordinators. So I don't know why everybody, why Eagle fans are so high in the hog here, thinking that they just wiped those. We started 10-1. Sure you did. But how did you finish? That's pretty much your team still. And you lost Kelsey. So
we'll see. I mean, they're clearly still good. I'm not going to,
Yeah, they're better than we are, but I mean, they're not. That's not a Super Bowl contender.
But if I would have told Eagles fans, after going to the Super Bowl the year before, and like you said, starting 10-1, albeit it was kind of a
fluky 10-1.
A fluky 10-1. I remember there were 3 or 4 games where you're like, how did they win that game?
The Chiefs game, the Bills game.
Yeah. But regardless, if you would have told Eagles fans after they started 10-1 that Nick Sirianni would have been on the hot seat at the end of the year, they would have called you insane.
Correct.
But he was. There was talks that he may be fired. Mm-hmm. And KJ's here's KJ's hot take. DJ in the MVP consideration, considering all the additions go well. KJ, I'm not going there with you, but I pray you're right. Because if he's in the MVP conversation, it means the Giants are in the Super Bowl conversation. So
somebody last week said Daniel Jones was going to win Comeback Player of the Year and MVP. I remember.
Theoretically, he could win Comeback Player of the Year this year. Just it'll probably go to Aaron Rodgers if we're being honest, because he got hurt the 3rd snap of the year or so. And my guess is he's probably the favorite to win it, but we'll see. But who won it? Was it Mayfield that won it last year? He should have.
I think it was.
It should have been if it wasn't. Let's see. Let's see. My Jets broke the Eagles' spirits in Week 6. That they did. That's right. You guys the Jets beat them, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Tudo says the Phillies ace. None of us can either enter the links no more, but we can meet outside the links and negotiate matter on any ground, any day, mate. Tudo says that's right, because he's been kicked out of the links for getting into fights every year.
Yeah.
JC says, any predictions on Nabers' stats this coming year? Yeah, I'll throw out a prediction. Why not? 1,000 yards. I think he's going to be right around 1,000 yards, between 950 and 1,050. I think he's going to have a good year. 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, and I'll go 70 receptions, 65, 70 receptions. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go for Nabers in his rookie year.
Yeah, I have more underwhelming stats.
Understandable.
I'm thinking closer to 800 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm.
You think the offense obviously continues to be?
I just think the offense has to build itself up more. I think Wan'Dale is going to be a bigger part. Not because I don't think Nabers can. I just feel like Nabers can have a couple of good games, and they're going to say, okay, we can't let this guy do this anymore. We have to take him away from Daniel Jones, and they're going to force Jones to go somewhere else. That's why. And I think Wan'Dale could end up with 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And
I hope Nabers does have Odell Beckham numbers, 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. That'd be amazing.
That's going to be hard because
I love that.
Maybe they won't do what we expect, but I think they're going to be more of a balanced offense. So I don't think they're going to be slinging the ball all over, but we'll see. James says 1,157 and 8 touchdowns. I could see that. I don't think that's crazy to think he could do that, but a lot of it's going to depend on his role in the offense. But I just think he's too explosive. He's going to break some big plays. So I think the yards are going to be closer to 1,000 than 800. But hey, he's a rookie, so you never know.
Right.
Key says, I don't think he gets to 700 yards. I hope you're wrong because that would be horrible. But we'll see. Let's see. Need says, I hope I'm wrong about Jones. Not rooting against him, but I'm tempering my expectation. Well, you should at this point. It's year 6. It's year 6. Let's be fair. It's like he's shown promise at times, but and again, not all his fault. Like I think fair fans acknowledge that he's been given dog shit throughout the majority of his career. But yeah, I think you should temper your expectations with Daniel Jones. But listen, if they give him good pieces, I think he's good enough to win football games on a good football team. I don't think he's good enough to be an elite quarterback. That's where I am with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with what Neil said there. I have no problem with people not having high expectations for Jones. I understand. I completely understand. He's given you no reason to really believe that he can't. Again, the team around him has been trash, and on paper it's better this year, but he is going into year 6, and he hasn't really had a breakout season. Like you said, he's shown flashes, Chris, but he hasn't had like a consistently breaking out. So I understand people tempering or having low expectations, but to openly root against him and hope that he fails,
that's stupid.
That's just not, you're not rooting for the team then. And I don't understand that. Go root for another team. Like all these people that are, I hope Saquon Barkley kills us and runs over, then go root for the Eagles. Like, I don't know what to say. Why would you hope that an opposing player embarrasses your team?
That's just stupid.
Like, I don't understand that. Like, if we're 2-14 at the end of the year, and the Eagles need to make, and you want them to run all over us, and you want us to go 2-15, well, I'd understand that. But to say going into the year, I don't get that. I don't understand the train of thought there at all.
And Brandon says the thoughts on the Giants running backs. I mean, obviously it's not an elite unit, but I think it could be good enough if we can block. It all goes back to what Vince just said right there. That answers your question, not just for the running game, but for the offense as a whole. It all goes back to the offensive line. I agree. If the offensive line is satisfactory, everybody will look better than they have because they haven't had a satisfactory offensive line in forever. So if they could block, Daniel Jones will look better. If they could block, Malik Nabers will look better. Like, it's just football 101. That's where the game has started. It started in the trenches. So hopefully the Giants are able to block this year. And, I think they have good enough talent at the running back spot. If they can block, they can have a good ground attack. So that's where it all starts, man.
Again, I don't think these guys are anything special, but I also don't think they're, incapable of. Singletary is a very capable running back. But yeah, you got to get some blocking ahead of him. I don't care who your running back is. If there's no blocking, he's not going to be able to do much damage on the ground. So hopefully a threat like Malik Nabers out there in the, receiving core and a guy like Wanda Robinson, hopefully that does loosen up the defense a little bit. And you can get some holes because we all know that if you're able to run the ball, your passing game is going to be more effective. And when you can become balanced and you're 2nd and 6 instead of 2nd and 12, that goes a long way to winning football games. And that's what we got to hope for. The line stays healthy and is average to where the Giants can actually, execute on offense.
And Danny Slow-Prosser Duds.
I love him.
What a name. He said, I am sick and tired of the O-line. I get where you're coming from but to me, it's not really an excuse. It's just a fact. Like, it's okay to say the Giants offensive line is horrible and the team would be better if the offensive line was better. Like, it's indisputable. You can't blame the offensive line last year wholly on Daniel Jones. They surrendered 85 sacks. Daniel Jones was only the starter for 5 of those games. So, like, the offensive line was abysmal last year. And you talk to any head coach in the NFL, they're going to tell you the most important individual unit, not individual player, but individual unit is the offensive line. So I don't think it's an excuse. When people tell me it's an excuse, it's not. Two things could be true. Daniel Jones could be underwhelming and the offensive line could be atrocious. And that's what it was last year. It was atrocious. It was all-time bad. 85 sacks is all-time bad. I don't view it as an excuse. I view it as a fact.
Yeah, Jones wasn't the only one that got sacked last year.
Yeah. It's a fact.
Taylor got hurt last year. It's why we ended up with Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito got shaken up last year. The line was bad. It's not an excuse. We do have a crappy line, but I also understand what you're saying. Like, I can't get on board with the people that blame everything but Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that's fair.
Daniel Jones is definitely a big part of the problem, but he's not the entire problem. Daniel Jones is not an elite guy. Daniel Jones is not a guy going into year 6 now that I feel can carry a bad football team. But I do feel like if he was in a better situation, he can win football games.
Well, he'd look better, obviously. Yeah.
And I say it all the time. You put Jalen Hurts in the Giants ain't going to the playoffs with him there. You put Daniel Jones in the Eagles, maybe they don't go to a Super Bowl, but there's no way you can tell me Daniel Jones will not have better numbers and a better year with that team around him as opposed to what the Giants have given him. And we talked about it right at the top of the show. Darius Slayton is a 5th-round pick, and he has been Daniel Jones's best receiver. Maybe Golden Tate his rookie year, maybe. But he had him for like 6 games.
Yeah.
Golden Tate, okay, because he got suspended and he got hurt, and then he had the problem, and they sent him on all this other crap. Slayton's been his best receiver. He's a 5th-round pick. Like, that should not be the case. We were excited about Isaiah Hodgins when he made an impact. We were excited about Darren Waller. Like, that
Hodgins was good. I don't know what happened to him last year, but he was good 2 years ago.
But my point is, that is how bad our wide receiving core has been that we got excited about Isaiah Hodgins. I got excited about Colin Johnson. And although Colin Johnson was great tonight.
David Sills. You had a part of the fan base called Sills Army. Correct.
We got excited about Darren Waller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. We were excited about these guys. And that shows you how low the bar was set when it comes to the wide receiver core. Who the hell was he throwing to? Yeah. And on top of that, you got a line that can't block. It's hard for any quarterback to produce in that situation. Yeah. But there's definitely times that Daniel Jones makes bad decisions. There's guys that are open. He holds on to the freaking ball. He takes sacks. He doesn't I understand all the drawbacks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this year
we saw with Eli second half. Same thing. I mean, not that I'm comparing Jones to Eli, but same thing. Like
Richie James, right, Davey? Richie James, for crying out loud. Right? Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay. They did nothing. Andrew Thomas has as many touchdowns as Kenny Golladay had for the Giants. I mean, that tells you all you need to know, right? He had a beat-up Sterling Shepard a lot of his career. He didn't have much. He has it now. So the excuse is...
Well, he's got a receiver now. We'll see if he has a line. But.
Well, he's got 2 because I think Wan'Dale Robinson's...
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. No, he's got the... That's
the best team he's had around him on paper since he's been a pro.
When you look at what Shane has
probably
done
in his career, because they had nothing around him at Duke either.
Oh, he had lawyers at Duke, yeah. But when you look at if you're analyzing the position group since Shane has taken the job, where they were and where they are now, by far the 2 biggest improvements are the wide receiving core and the pass rush, right? Because when he came in, Azeez Ojulari was your number 1 edge. Now, obviously, you have Kayvon and you have Brian Burns. And the wide receiving core, you had Wan'Dale, you had, obviously Nabers. So it's a much better wide receiving core since when Shane took the job. And we'll see. We'll see. But I agree with you. It's definitely his best group of wide receivers he's had since he's been a quarterback.
Yep.
John says, hot take, Barkley over 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm assuming you mean in one game against the Giants. The 150 yards I could see. I don't think he's getting 2 touchdowns because you're quarterback with the tush push. But but maybe with Kelsey not there, maybe they won't be as successful with the tush.
Maybe in both games combined, he can get 150 yards.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I love how everybody's like, "Oh, Saquon good on the Giants. He can't wait." I'm like, you don't think the Giants circled that? You don't think the Giants defenders go, "This guy left us. He went to Philadelphia." You don't think they're like, "Yep, you are not beating us." Jalen Hurts made over 400 yards in that game.
You know what Sirianni.
The Giants are not letting Barkley beat.
You know what Sirianni's going to do though in that game. That's going to be the one game.
Sirianni should throw a lot in that game.
That's going
to be what the Giants want to do.
Yeah, but knowing Sirianni, I just feel like he's going to want to rub it in the Giants' faces. Like, that's going to be the one game all year where the Eagles don't use the tush push on the goal line. They're going to hand it to Saquon.
Maybe they don't get to the goal line. Well, I can tell you this. We don't have to worry about Boston Scott.
That's true. The little squirt.
I'm not worried about him.
King Josh says O-line is top 15 in the league. Hot take. That is a flaming hot take, but it's possible. I mean, you look what
that happened.
Yeah, it would be great. But Priscilla was able to accomplish something similar with the Raiders when he took the job. So, I mean, I hope you're right, man.
We'll be good if we can get in the top half of the league offensive line.
And Danny Slow Processor says our fan base always gets excited. Now to be fair, Danny Slow Processor, I think every fan base gets excited. Obviously we're in the bubble of Giants fans, so like we don't talk to Jacksonville Jaguar fans or Cleveland Browns fans, but I think every fan base gets excited. I think that's the beauty of the NFL. I think that's the excitement of the NFL. It's the one league where there's always what's great about the NFL is there's always like 3 teams that come out of nowhere that you don't expect to be good. Like the Giants were one of them in 2022. Every year there's 3 or 4.
I think the Lions were one of them too. Even though they didn't make the postseason that year, they got to a terrible start and then they rolled.
Yeah. So I
Tampa
just
last year, I don't think anybody picked Tampa to win that division last year.
I just think that's fans, man. I think all fans are excited when the season starts, and then they quickly become unexcited 2 or 3 weeks in if their team sucks. Let's see. I mean,
it's part of being a fan, though. You know, I mean, if you weren't excited for the season, and I understand why you might not be optimistic, but if you weren't excited, why would you be a fan? I mean, I would think every fan base is excited for football season. Even if you do have tempered expectations, you're still excited to watch your team play and you hope for the best. I don't know, man. Like I said, we were about 3 plays away last year from going to the playoffs with that team.
And
so
Joey,
Yeah.
I just want to say hello to Joey Lutz. Love Joey Lutz. Good to see him in here. He says, "Who's got the Stromboli?" What's going on, Joe?
Stromboli. Yeah.
He's been with us forever, man. Good to see him.
Yes.
Let's see. Giants have to start 2-0 with this schedule. Let's pull up the Giants schedule real quick. I know their first 2 games. I haven't memorized the entire schedule yet.
Weeks 3 through 8 are brutal. I know we have the Cowboys week 4. On Thursday night, then they play they have Cincinnati one somewhere in there. They have Cleveland, I think. They have Philly in that stretch. Weeks 3 through 8 are really tough.
Minnesota at Washington, 2 winnable games to start the year.
Yeah.
I think games we could clearly win. At Cleveland, tough. I wouldn't say completely unwinnable, but obviously tough.
That's a hard game.
They have a really good defense. Home against Dallas. I try to go into every year thinking we could compete with Dallas, but it seems like we're much more competitive even with the Eagles than Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas just really
they just smoke us every time.
They outscored us 89-17 last year. I mean,
so I got to see it before I believe it. Right. That's home. That's actually a Thursday night game.
Yep.
Then you got at Seattle. Tough. Obviously playing in that environment as well. It's going to be tough. Yeah, it's tough, man. That, like you said, weeks 3 to 8, man.
It's a gauntlet.
You got Eagles home. You got to find a way to win 2 of those games.
Cincinnati's in there too, someplace.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh in that stretch. So you got to find a way to win 2 of those games. Like if they could start 2-0 and win 2 out of those next 6, you're 4-4.
If you're 4-4, you're feeling pretty good.
And then you got Washington and Carolina, and then the bye. If you could get out of that 8-game stretch at 4-4, I think that's the key to having a competitive season.
Correct. I agree.
You got to find out, and I think it's possible. They could definitely win 2 of those games. Obviously, they probably won't be favored in any of them, but it's the NFL. You could find a way to pick off a couple of games. But
health plays an issue, obviously, but all things being considered equal, 3 through 8 is rough. If we're 4-4 after 8 weeks, even if we're 5-5 going into the bye, I think the Giants have a pretty good
if you're 3-5 out of there and you could win both Washington and Carolina and you get the 5-5 at the bye, at least you got you got an interesting second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay, we'll see. I know they made the playoffs last year, but then at Dallas, New Orleans, Baltimore, even the end is not. I mean, at Atlanta, Indianapolis, those are winnable, I think. But yeah, it's not an easy schedule, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody in our division has an easy schedule this year. We all play the same divisions, and we'll see where where it drops. And listen, I think in more so than any other sport in the NFL, momentum is a very real thing. And if you could get out to that 2-0 start, I mean, we saw it in 2022. We're all looking at the schedule before the year starts. We say Packers in London with Aaron Rodgers.
Right, the Ravens, the Titans.
Ravens coming back from London on short rest. Yeah, right. So, you could never predict the season before it starts. So we'll see. I'm going to just enjoy it week by week. And, we got Minnesota week 1.
Yep. Hopefully we do have a replay of 2022. It was a fun year.
Yeah.
It was a fun year.
Let's see.
Although my best content probably came in 2021, but I like 2022 a lot better.
Let's see. Bliss is speaking facts. What is he saying? Week 1, 2023, 40 said, of course. That was I said it that night, and I think it's the truth. That's in my top for a regular season game. So I'm excluding the 49er Giant game. When they in 2002, I'm excluding the Ravens Super Bowl game, which was awful. For a regular season game, for me, you've been watching the Giants longer than me. That's in my top 3 or 4 most depressing games. Like, to come off a year in which we did the year before, our biggest surprise season in a long time. Nobody saw us doing what we did. To go into the year with pretty high hopes. Brian Dable, coach of the year. Second year in the scheme for Daniel Jones. You add Darren Waller. You're like, okay, maybe this team, they got a harder schedule. Maybe they could kind of match last year's record and be a better team in the process. Be more competitive from within the division. To get smoked the way that we did, man. That took the wind out of the sails before the season even started. Like, that was
Thomas got hurt in that game.
Yeah.
And it rolled the wrong way.
And it was so it started off perfectly.
The damn false start.
The first drive, I felt like I was watching the only preseason game we saw the first team offense. Yeah. When Jones hit Waller on like 4 passes in the preseason, it was bing, 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 touchdown. And not that a lot of them were Daniel Jones runs, if I recall, but first down. You get down to the 5-10 yard line, whatever it is. Andrew Thomas false start. Graham Gano block field goal and
touchdown, and then a pick 6, and
that's it.
21-0. Where you blink an eye, and that's the end of the game.
That's it. And we just got demolished. But that was tough, man. That was tough.
That was a tough one. And I talked a lot of shit, boy. I was telling Cowboy fans we were going to beat them week 1, and that didn't happen.
And yeah, no, Bull, that's definitely number 1 for me. That's not even comparable. Like, that's for me, for a regular season loss, that's number 1 for me. The Deshaun Jackson punt return touchdown. As I've said the story several times, this was back when, social media wasn't as prevalent, when you weren't on your phone quite as often as you are now. Like, that was 2010? I turned my phone off and I didn't turn it on for 3 days after that game because I didn't want to. I had a lot of Jet friends that were Jet fans that were ragging on me right after the game. I just said I don't even want to deal with it. I turned my phone off and didn't turn it on for 3 days. So that was by far the most depressed I've ever been for a regular season loss.
I was heated after we lost that one. I can remember my buddy. I can remember him having. I think it was who the hell was Zach Ertz their tight end back then? Who the hell was their tight end?
No, I don't think so. Not back then.
I don't know. Who the hell was their tight end? Maybe he had Michael Vick as his quarterback. I don't remember, but I remember them scoring a touchdown, like a long touchdown. It made 31-17. And my friend, who was a Giants fan, was happy that his fantasy player scored a touchdown. And I'm like, dude, what are you cheering about? I'm like, they don't score. I don't want them to score anything. That's terrible. They got a touchdown in like 30 seconds.
Maybe it was Ertz. Was Ertz that old? Maybe it was Ertz.
He's been around a while. Man, maybe not. He's still in the league. That'd be 14 years. Maybe it wasn't him.
Yeah. But Brent Selleck. Maybe that. Yeah, Brent Selleck.
Whoever it was. Yeah. He must have been Michael Vick, not the tight end. But I just remember that play and saying, how can you cheer? That's why I hate fantasy football. No, I will lose every game as long as the Giants. I don't give a shit about fantasy football. Fantasy football is there when the Panthers are playing the Commanders on Thursday night. And who wants to watch that game? Oh, I have Terry McLaurin, so I'm going to watch a game and see what Terry McLaurin does. That's what fantasy football is for, to make you watch a game like that.
It's for Thursday night football when you need an excuse to watch football.
Correct.
When they play, when it's like the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the New England Patriots, and you're like, oh, I've got Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing. So
That's what fantasy football is for, to make you interested in a game you would otherwise say, what else is on? You're going to watch that, as opposed to do not root for your players to do well against your favorite team.
Yeah, that's the worst. I hate that. I hate that.
I do
yeah.
that. I know.
And Eric says 7-10 this season and still looking for a quarterback. If we go 7-10, we will be looking for a quarterback. Whether or not we could obtain one, we'll see. But I think we'll be in the market for a quarterback in the draft. They will be looking to trade up if we go 7-10. Yes, 100%. They got to make the playoffs for Daniel Jones to even have an opportunity to stay with this team next year, I think. Let's see. When it's next week, it's a week from today, David. I think it's the 8th.
It is the 8th.
I don't. Not that it matters because the starters don't really play. But are we playing the Lions? I want to say. Yeah, right. Yeah. I think I saw that today. The Lions. Yep. So, not that it matters. You're not going to get their first unit, but
you might get the first unit for a drive.
For a drive, yeah, maybe for a drive. Let's see. And what's up, Giants?
I have a feeling, Chris. I have a feeling we're going to see them more this year because last year we saw the starters one drive, and that was it.
Yeah,
one drive.
Yeah,
I have a feeling.
At least on offense, I don't remember defense, but on
offense,
I
know I'm talking about offense. I don't remember on defense either. But one drive, that drive against Carolina, where it was like perfection. They scored, and they didn't play him again. And I know Coach Dable said this training camp is going to be different. This isn't going to be a country club like it was last year. So I think they're going. And I know you and I understand you want to go into the year healthy.
Yeah.
But I think we also understand that these guys have to play. Like, you need to get snaps.
Yeah.
You need to get chemistry with your guys. I'm not saying play the whole game.
Quarter.
But God, give them 6 drives in the preseason. You know what I mean? Something.
Yeah. Give maybe game 1, you give them a drive. Game 2, you give them like 3 or 4 drives. And then,
right.
Yeah.
And then game 3, you don't play them. I understand that. You're not going to play your starters in game 3. That's for depth. That's for guys fighting for their job.
This is a good point. 2 Giants goofballs. That more so than any other unit.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they need to, because these guys have never played with one another. A lot of these guys.
And the new O-line coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to work on stuff.
Yeah.
I get that health is very important, but I've said this before. You can hold them out in the first play of the season. You can get hurt. Look at Andrew Thomas, right? I mean, it happens. It sucks, but it's part of football. So, I wouldn't. Why is my workout partner texting me at 11 o'clock?
And good to see you, Kev, man. Thanks for popping in. And good to see Afghanistan. I don't know if I shouted him out yet. How could I have not if I haven't? But Afghanistan, thanks for being here, man. He says, don't care too much about practice. Just show me something. I'm the same way, but I definitely get where Baddog's coming from too, where I want to see. I would like to see the starters get 3, 4, 5 drives. I would like to see that.
I'm not sitting there saying play them, a half in each game, but they got to get more than one.
Even if it's watered down, which I expect it to be. You're not going to show the whole playbook in preseason, but the offensive line more so than anything else, just getting their bearings, getting used to playing.
Let Jones build some chemistry with Malik Nabers.
Yeah.
Let Singletary get some touches. Let Theo Johnson get some reps.
Yeah.
You have to let these guys play. The Giants are in no position to just we're a contender. They have to work on stuff. And I swear to God, now last year I don't know what the deal was. I just knew there was something off with this team. Even in preseason, it just seemed like it was a different attitude. And I didn't know if that had to do with Barkley and Jones. Not those 2 guys in general, but the way the contract was handled and all the stuff. I don't know. But it was a different feel to that team as opposed to the way it was in 2022. The Giants really had nothing to lose. It's almost like they tightened up, but they looked completely unprepared to play against Dallas.
Yeah, it was. They panicked too. That we said that. I mean, they panicked. Kafka specifically panicked. He completely got away from the game plan after the first drive. It was completely. All they did was throw the ball after that. They run the ball successfully on the first drive, and then that was it. They were behind the 8 ball. The offense became predictable, and it was lights out.
Yep. Can't do that.
Kashif says, thoughts on Dable versus I'm excited about that. No disrespect to Kafka. I think Kafka actually was kind of overhated by portions of the fan base. Kafka was kind of in a tough spot, right? I mean, you got your 3rd string quarterback, no Andrew Thomas. Wandell, wasn't completely himself until probably week 5 or 6 last year. So he was in a tough spot last year. But
listen, Barkley missed time.
So not that I definitely think Kafka could be a successful play caller in the NFL. But listen, at the end of the day, the reason that Dable got this job to begin with was because of his success at the quarterback position, as a play caller, right? I mean, not just in the NFL, but in college. You look at some of the he coached Jalen Hurts, he coached Tua Tagovailoa at the pro level. He coached Brett Favre, who was with the Jets. He coached Josh Allen. Like, this guy has been known to be a guy that has gotten the most out of the quarterback position. So that's why he got the job, because of his, you look at all the best offensive coordinators that become head coaches. Kyle Shanahan calls the plays, so like, I'm excited, man. When he took the job, I always expected this to be the case by year 3 at the latest. Like I said earlier in the stream, year 1, no, because he had never been a head coach before. So you kind of want to learn the job, right? So I get that. You don't want added responsibility day 1, being that you've never been in charge of an entire football team before. But I always thought and, knew, probably around this point he would take over. So I'm excited, man. I think I'm excited to see what he can do with this offense. I'm excited for Brian Dable calling the plays.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of flair he brings. And again, I think if Dable, they're riding with Daniel Jones obviously this year, and I think they're saying, okay, well, if Daniel Jones is going to be our quarterback, let me make or break the guy. You know what I mean? Let me be the one to either make him succeed, or he's going to fail on my watch, or he's going to succeed on my watch. And I believe in my abilities to make him into a decent quarterback. So,
And Vinny Bagadonut says, that's definitely up there. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. He says, my favorite game you guys did is Jones's. I'm assuming you mean his first game against the Bucs. That's certainly in our top 5. I mean, that was definitely that was great. I mean, a completely unexpected comeback, his debut game. I mean, that was great. My favorite's probably got to be the playoff game against Minnesota, but the Ravens game that year was great too.
Packers game.
The Packers game was great that year too. Yeah. The Seahawks game, the year with Joe Judge, was a good one. When we went into Seattle, Leonard Williams had that huge game.
Yeah.
It was
Wayne Gallman had the big game.
And it was false hope, because that was actually the first time since I've been on YouTube where I convinced myself that the Giants were actually starting to turn a corner.
And I convinced myself Joe Judge was a good coach.
And you convinced yourself, and it went up in smoke. But that's definitely up there for me. The day of the game, that's up there. And Irish Rover says, hi, Chris and Baddog. I am late tonight, so don't know if you discussed this. Who do you think will be our starting offensive line? I hope we solidify our line. Right now, if I had to guess, maybe this will change in season, but the fact that Neal's hurt, the fact that Illuminor has, obviously he knows this blocking scheme. He played for the Raiders last year. Barcelo was the offensive line coach over there, so he clearly thinks highly of him. I think right now Illuminor is the clear favorite to start on the right side opposite Andrew Thomas. If I had to guess right now, obviously you're going to have Runyon in there. If JMS is healthy, he's going to start at the center. And who am I forgetting?
We got Van Roten.
Van Roten. Yeah, Van Roten, or however, I think it's pronounced Van Roten. But he's probably the favorite right now to be the guard, if I had to guess. But that'll be a competition. But that's where I am right now, at least going into training camp. That would be my expectation. But at some point, I could certainly see Evan Neal getting the starting right tackle spot, or potentially shifting into the inside. But that's my projected starting line. And Diet Ghost says chemistry is going to be the biggest key this season. We're raw coming into the year, but I'm excited for the new staff and more Tane and Bad. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. We're going to be calling our first game next week.
Yes, we will. Yeah, we back, maybe every week you get us now.
The emotion won't quite be there for a preseason game, but it's always fun nevertheless.
It is. Yeah, it's fun to watch football. Fun to watch football with the Giants fans.
The game versus Tampa and the Tennessee game, one with the missed field goal, certainly up there too. Yeah. That's my top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Remember I turned you, I'm like, with 10 minutes left, would you go for 2?
Yes, you did, and we did, and we still almost lost.
And
it was the same way, like when Daniel Jones first started. Remember, Janoris Jenkins was talking so much crap, and Mike Evans torched him, which is when I named Janoris Jenkins shit fondue, and it stuck to him like glue. And then William Gay missed a field goal, and we were like, "Oh my God, he missed it! Oh my God!" It was crazy.
That to me, that set the. It's crazy. This is how important This is how important the beginning to a season is in the NFL. Think about it. The first game of the last 2 seasons set the tone for the entire year.
It did.
The Tennessee game in 2022, week 1, that set the tone. You know, I'm going to show confidence in my players. I'm going for 2 on the road. I'm putting my balls on the line. I'm going to go out and win this football game. That set the tone, right? The Giants then went on to start off 6-1, I think it was. They beat the Raiders. That built confidence in the players. Last year, same thing in the opposite direction. Week 1 set the tone. It just completely deflated everything.
Yep.
So it is so vital in the NFL to get off to as good of a start as you can, because it builds confidence or lack thereof.
Yeah. Yeah, Cowboys knocked us out. We never got up.
Never got up.
Never got up from that haymaker.
Let's see. Bowler says Dable has been conservative ever since that call, though. I wouldn't say that, Bull. I think maybe the last year you could make that argument in certain cases, but I remember plays. Remember, I think it was 4th and 9. Remember, they went for it with Daniel Jones.
That was in 2022. That was against Washington. Yeah, that was our season.
Yeah, that was after the game 1 against Tennessee, which is what
that was against Washington.
Yeah, 4th and 9 going for it. So I think Dable has been aggressive at times, but I agree. Last year,
he was definitely conservative in that Jets game.
Yeah,
that one I know.
Yeah, he definitely scaled it back last year in terms of the aggression, but you could at least, there's variables to that with all the.
I remember when they went for that damn field goal. I'm like, just run the ball. It's 4th and 1. Just run the freaking ball. Just run the ball. Don't even bother kicking it. Just run the ball. And they ended up coming back to I'm like, if Barkley can't get a yard on 4th and 1, we deserve to lose. I would have rather put it in Barkley's hands as opposed to having an injured Gano kicking in that monsoon. I mean, life. It's tough to kick there to begin with, so it ended up backfiring. You know.
Yeah, no, Bull, you're right. Last year he did, but to be fair to Dable,
it's hard to be aggressive when your line gives up 80.
Yeah, like when Thomas went down, like it's hard to be aggressive. But I agree. There were certain points last year. I can't think of instances off the top of my head, but there were certain times last year where the Giants had the ball around midfield on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, where I was surprised that they didn't go for it, or that they attempted a long field goal over going for it on a 4th and 1. There were certainly some instances, if I recall, last year where Dable did do that early in the year, and I was surprised. But part of that I think has to do with, like you said, Andrew Thomas being hurt and all the limitations they had on the offense, due in large part to that. Let's see. Gano fully healthy is the most underrated part of the season, 100%. Like last year really made me, and I've always appreciated Gano since he's been here, like for the last 3 years or whatever it's been. He's been great. But last year, not the 2 players that I think last year Giants fans probably should be like, wow, like I really now understand how important these players are to this team, are Graham Gano. Because when he got hurt, and even when he was playing hurt and he wasn't himself, like that cost us football games. And Andrew Thomas. Like when Andrew Thomas was in the year before, the line was bad, but it wasn't like all-time bad. It was like passable. Like right. you could operate an offense to a certain extent. And when Andrew Thomas went down, it became literally the worst offensive line arguably in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
So like last year, that's what you take out of it, in my opinion. Those 2 players are so important to this football team.
Yeah, very.
Let's see. Miguel says, is it just me, or does it appear that Dable really doesn't like Jones? I mean, he's got a picture of him in his office. I don't know. I think that's all optics, and I think that's all to do with how the team is doing and how Daniel Jones is playing. I mean, I remember the game in 2023. I was there against the Colts, where the entire stadium was cheering Daniel Jones's name. And when I went home and I saw all the videos of Brian Dable hugging him like he was his newborn child. So, I think it's all optics and circumstance based on how the team's performing. So, like, if you would have looked at those pictures in 2023, you would say Dable loved them. You look at the contract, you would say Dable loved him. Last year was a miserable season. Daniel Jones was a part of that.
Yeah, Daniel Jones had a miserable season. And the one thing I still don't understand was Dable leaving him in there against Dallas and Seattle when he was getting killed. I'm like, why is he in? I remember just thinking, what are you doing to him? Like, what are you proving? I don't understand at all.
And then I remember saying, we're just trying to get some points there at the end, or trying to score a touchdown. I'm like, bullshit. Why are all your backups in there outside of Daniel Jones? I don't think Dable doesn't like Daniel Jones, but
I think
he wants Daniel Jones to be better.
Yeah, I think he's tough on all his players.
Yeah.
And listen, it worked in 2022. I remember calling that game with you against the Titans, and I said to myself in my head, I'm like, Daniel Jones might be benched by week 4.
Yeah.
Like the way that he responded to Daniel Jones when he threw that awful interception against the Titans. I think it was to Saquon Barkley, if I recall.
Yeah, he underthrew him big time.
He underthrew him horribly, and then Dable flipped out. I think he threw an iPad. I remember saying in my head, I'm like, Daniel Jones is not going to make it out of week 4 at this rate.
Yeah.
And obviously things turned around quickly thereafter, but I just think that's the way Dable is.
Yeah, but we talked about it, Chris. I mean, this team was 1-5, 1-6, whatever it was, left for dead, third string quarterback in there, and they could have quit. They could have tanked. They could have just lost out, won 2 games, and got the quarterback, and the team constantly fought for Brian Dable. Like, they never quit. They got beat up because they were a bad team, but they, like we just said, there's pretty much 3 games that there's 2 they definitely should have won, and they could have won against the Eagles at Christmas, and they could have won against the Rams, but they had a chance to win 9 games with that team. So they play hard for Coach Dable. Now, we were competitive in some games. Now, some of the games we lost, we just were not competitive, and we were embarrassed.
Yeah.
4 games against Dallas, the game against the Raiders. I think the Saints beat the living hell out of us too. But, all things considered.
My mistake on that, by the way, Nova. I know he yelled.
He chewed him out.
Yeah, he chewed. Maybe it wasn't the iPad, but he chewed him out in that Tennessee game.
Yeah.
So I just think that's who he is, though. And even Dable, Baddog, he said it this offseason, he's learned from last year. I don't want him to lose that entirely. I like that about Dable. I like that he's emotional. I think the players, to a certain extent, appreciate that. They want to.
When he was talking to Malik Nabers, he said, "Hey, I'm a hothead too."
Yeah.
So.
But I think that's part of becoming a coach. I think you learn, right? I mean, I'm sure that Parcells, he had his ebbs and flows early on as a head coach. So
he and Sims butted heads all the time, and they won 2 Super Bowls together. So.
Yeah, but
technically Hostetler won the other, but Sims is a big part of that.
Yeah. But guys, we are going to close it out. It's 11:06. I got work tomorrow. Bad Dog's got work tomorrow. We'll be live. I guess we'll do the show a little earlier next week, being that the game's on, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we'll be live on Bad Dogs next week at some point. So looking forward to that. Appreciate all you guys. Of course, we'll be live for the preseason game. All the games this year, 20 games in total. Yep. Hopefully more than 20 games.
Hopefully more, right?
Hopefully we're the playoff
in January.
But appreciate all you guys. Good to be back doing a live show again on this channel, and love all you guys, man. You guys have a great rest of your night, and yeah, let's get this off season. Let's get this off season over with, and let's get the regular season underway.
Yeah, without question, we're gonna have some football next week. It's not gonna be, regular season football, but it's football. The pads are out there playing against live competition. We'll see what the Giants do, who they play, and how long they play. But looking forward to calling Giants football again, without question. We are 7th year doing it together, and it's always fun, and it's definitely more fun when we win. So let's hope for a freaking good season and no injuries.
Love you guys. Have a good night, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
You called it with the jacket.